Chronicles of the Stellar Mecha War. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 651. Poor Ghost Lin Fan. The unknown visitor had completed the space jump a few days ago, and as expected, he was heading towards Lansing. Because there was no satellite monitoring, judging from the reflection results of the radio telescope, it was not GRO. As for whether it was the aircraft that came and went before, it was hard to say. There was also good news. According to the other party's current speed, it would take about 2 months to reach the vicinity of Lansing, which would be the end of March. In more than 2 months, Lansing could not make too many preparations, but at least it could have a good new year. What happened in the future? We'll talk about it after the other party arrives. Country H is in this state now. The new spacecraft was completely blocked from the public, so that everyone could have a good new year. If the other G countries could not resist, they simply joined. Those who had the Spring Festival also celebrated it, and those who did not, regardless of whether it was a festival or not, just wanted to join in the atmosphere. So, for the first time, the Spring Festival became a global carnival on Lansing. When Lin Fan and the other two went to the street to buy New Year gifts to take home, the atmosphere outside was already very festive, with red decorations everywhere. None of them liked shopping, but they wandered around with interest this time. It was dark when they finished buying New Year's goods. The things in the store were not much different from before. It's just that the prices of fresh goods such as fruits and vegetables have increased a lot. Wu Yusen said that the roads in some remote areas have not been completely dredged, so it is normal for these daily agricultural products that need long distance transportation to increase in price. What about the railway? Is the impact big? Lin Fan asked. Gao has a high-speed railway that goes directly to Kaohsiung City. In previous years, she went directly to the train station to go home. Some tracks were damaged, but most of them have been repaired. The railway is basically unaffected at present. Wu Yusen hurried back towards the lit street lights. The least affected thing is the plane. Wang Fengfeng poked his head out from the back row. As long as the road to the airport is unobstructed, it's fine. So many people are traveling by plane this year. The airlines are making a lot of money. Lin Fan tilted his head to continue. The end of the year is the peak season every year, and air tickets are not cheap. Then you are wrong. Wang Fengfeng laughed. This time, the national transportation has been coordinated by the higher-ups, and the air tickets have not only not increased, but are much lower than before. Almost on par with high-speed rail. Really? Lin Fan turned half of her body to the side, and her first reaction was to take the opportunity to go out and have fun. If you don't take advantage of a bargain, you're a bastard. She is a poor ghost now. She borrowed the money for the New Year's goods from Wang Fengfeng. Because of the financial difficulties above, the Special Affairs Office issued a fine tradition and took the initiative to apply for delayed payment of January wages. So Lin Fan still has only a few cents in her card. Many people in the Special Affairs Office were encouraged by Lin Fan to donate a lot of money. No one is rich, but it's not a big deal to delay the salary for 1 or 2 months. It is indeed rare for someone like her to not keep a single dollar. But no matter what, including Lin Fan, no one said a word when they knew about the salary extension. According to Quan Yingdang, it was considered as a contribution to the country. However, it didn't matter, but it still couldn't change the fact that Lin Fan was poor. Wu Yusen was not rich either. He had reserved 1,000 yuan for the donation. After spending money during this period and buying New Year's goods today, there was not much left. Wang Fengfeng usually stayed at home, unlike Wu Yusen who spent all his money on his wife, and he was not as generous as Lin Fan who donated all his wealth. So, as the richest person, he naturally became Lin Fan's lender. Lin Fan estimated that 10,000 yuan should be enough for buying New Year's goods and spending money on the trip back home during the new year. Anyway, he would be back in a few days, so he wrote a formal IOU. Wang Fengfeng smiled in his hand. Now that Lin Fan had bought New Year's goods and had a few thousand yuan left, it was natural for him to suddenly want to take advantage of the cheap air tickets to travel. but thinking of the trouble in heaven and the uncertain situation of Song Ren, he gave up the idea. She had no mood to play until these two major issues were resolved. The first thing she did after returning was to care about Song Ren's condition. He still had tactile sensation in his limbs, but judging from the data, there was no obvious improvement compared to the previous time. Song Ren would have to spend the new year in the ward. Lee Chun-ho and the others didn't want to leave Song Ren alone in the ward, so they decided to stay with him at 800. Lin Fan had thought about whether to go to 800 to accompany Song Ren after the new year at home, but thinking of Song Ren's resistance to her before, she gave up. The next day, Lin Fan went to ZHU Kunjin to ask about the unknown visitor. The answer she got was no different from before, and it would still arrive around the end of March. ZHU Kunjin seemed to be completely unworried and smiled and told Lin Fan not to worry, go home and have a good new year, take the opportunity to have some fun, and wait until after March to talk about anything. Lin Fan knew what he meant. This matter can't be rushed. Just do what you want when the time comes. If it really doesn't work out by then, at least there are still happy experiences these days. But that being said, she was originally worried. How could she forget it completely? It was another day when she missed Jin Sichin. Is Jin Sichin coming back for the new year? Thinking of Jin Sichin, Lin Fan asked casually. He's not coming back. ZHU Kunjin smiled. He said he wanted to spend the new year with the ugly girl, so that she could also feel the warmth of the world. Lin Fan smiled. This was Jin Sichin's style. Can the ugly girl move? Well, after we determined the speed of the other party, we reported the estimated value and the arrival dates to the ugly girl. After she read it, she climbed up from the side of the world tree and said that she would switch to defense mode when she was nearby. Jin Sichin was originally planning to come back, but the Chinese New Year is coming soon. He felt that he could take this opportunity to win over the ugly girl again, so he has been giving her a sense of ritual in the cave. Not to mention, the ugly girl has been scolding people less recently. Jin Sichin later chatted with Lin Fan on the phone again. He felt that her current state was quite good. In addition, there would not be major accidents during the Chinese New Year. After consideration, he did not rush back, but went to attack the ugly girl. He listened to the whole process of how ZHU Kunjin was scolded. He felt a little uncomfortable, so he wanted to take this rare opportunity to influence her subtly. The ugly girl had never celebrated the Spring Festival. Although she knew about it, as an old widow, how could she have the opportunity to experience it? Now Jin Sichin has hung red lanterns, spring couplets, and window decorations everywhere in the ugly girl's cave. The ugly woman was disgusted, but at the same time she still had a little expectation in her heart, and she liked Jin Sichin better. When she was in a good mood, she was not so fierce when she was cursing people on the line outside, and she could even say a few words calmly. The big guys who were used to being scolded by the ugly woman were so moved that they almost cried. As the first hero, Jin Sichin took the right path this time. Well, there is no progress on Song Ren's side, and the alien visitors can't arrive for the time being. Lin Fan, who had nothing to do, went out with Wu Yusen to wander around for 2 days, wondering if he could run into a grocery store. The day before going home, after lunch, Lin Fan wandered around the room with a bulging belly. After thinking about it, he opened the closet and looked for clothes to take back tomorrow. ZHU Kunjin called. Lin Fan, come to my office. There is a guest who needs you to entertain. Guess who this person is? Chapter 652 Antonio's Apology. What guests need her to entertain? Lin Fan was confused, but still went to ZHU Kunjin obediently. After knocking on the door, the red-haired Antonio stood up from the sofa. Hi, Lin. Long time no see. He greeted in H language with a smile, and his rubbing hands showed that he was not as calm as he looked. Lin Fan was stunned at the door. She hadn't figured out how to face Antonio. Was she angry? It didn't seem so. But not angry? It didn't feel like that. So even though the two of them had helped each other after the war was over, she deliberately threw this person into a corner. It seemed that, as long as she didn't want to, the trouble would not exist. But who would have thought that this trouble would suddenly appear in front of her? And it was alive. Lin Fan held the door handle, blinked, and blinked again, not knowing what expression to put on. ZHU Kunjin smiled and led him into the house, pressed him to sit on the single sofa, and asked Antonio to sit down. Lin Fan, this is the distinguished guest from Country P. Last time you were injured, it was he who brought you back from afar. We should thank him. ZHU Kunjin patted Lin Fan on the shoulder and then returned to his sofa to make tea. You're welcome, you're welcome. It was Lin who saved me first. Antonio waved his hands repeatedly and replied sincerely, if she hadn't pushed me that time, my injury would not be less serious than hers. After being reminded, Lin Fan also remembered that Antonio took the risk to bring her back to Country H later. Wu Yusen analyzed with her that, although Antonio's action was against common sense, it was obviously considered from Lin Fan's perspective. Otherwise, whether she was left at the explosion site or brought back to Country P, Lin Fan would not get anything good. In the face of life and death, the previous concealment seemed to be nothing. Besides, Antonio actually did not do anything harmful to her. This time, he came all the way here again. I don't know how he got into the Special Affairs office. It can be regarded as sacrificing one's body to a tiger. He did it just to see her. This heart, no matter what, is enough. Lin Fan was relieved instantly. Thank you for saving me back then. She stood up and bowed deeply to Antonio. The life-saving grace was real. This bow was not excessive. No, it's me who should thank you. Antonio stood up quickly. He wanted to help, but was afraid of being too abrupt, so he simply bent down and bowed. ZHU Kunjin saw that the two bowed to each other and felt that it looked weird. His smile faded a bit. He stepped forward and pulled one of them with one hand. Okay, don't be polite. I heard that you are not good friends. Come on, sit down and talk, Lin Fan stood up and saw Antonio looking at her with some trepidation. Thinking of the happy scenes in the past, she laughed. Antonio saw her smile, and his heart was finally relieved, and he laughed too. The two of them just laughed like this, with a sense of forgetting grudges with a smile. Come on, have some tea. ZHU Kunjin interrupted again. Don't let the red-haired pig eat your own cabbage. As a friend, it's actually quite comfortable to get along with Antonio. Lin Fan is not the type to flatter. She took her cup and asked directly, why are you here suddenly? The Special Affairs Office is not an ordinary tourism agency, and ordinary people can't get in at all. Not to mention that international routes are not open, except through special channels. The only possibility for Antonio to appear in ZHU Kunjin's office is the official channel. So ZHU Kunjin specifically asked her to entertain him, which should be a task from above. Sure enough, Antonio said, Ovi. Oh, that's my boss. He wants to discuss some cooperation with your boss, so I came with him. Lin Fan still remembers Ovi's grey blue eyes, which flashed with an unkind light, and didn't look so easy to talk to. She asked again. So he agreed, and let you come out alone. He didn't agree at first, but it's useless for him to disagree with what I want to do. Antonio leaned on the sofa with his legs crossed, and suddenly remembered where he was, put his legs down, and sat up straight. I have always wanted to apologize to you, but I don't know how to start. He looked at Lin Fan seriously. I admit that I have known you for a long time. When I met you, I had a purpose. But after the relationship, I was really attracted to you, and thought you were a good girl. My feelings are real, without any adulteration. Antonio has been in H country for a long time. Although he has an accent in H language, he has no problem with basic expression. Although they had agreed to learn foreign languages from each other, Lin Fan was very eager to practice P language at that time. Most of the conversations between the two were in P language, which resulted in Antonio's H language level being very average, and many times some words did not express the meaning. Lin Fan knew Antonio, and it was enough to be able to express clearly, and there was no need to be particular about embellishment. She just wanted to see if it was roughly the same, and she didn't narcissistically think that he was interested in her. But ZHU Kunjin didn't know. Although he is a foreign friend, why do I feel that his words are not right? Didn't they say that the two of them are friends? Can this red-haired guy talk? Actually, I suspected you before, but because you really didn't show any behavior that would harm me, I finally let go of my suspicion and treated you as a real friend. Lin Fan was relieved, so he naturally didn't bother too much and let it go. When I knew you were Apollo, I did feel deceived and used, but think about it, besides hiding my identity as Apollo, you didn't really do anything to harm me, and I also concealed my identity from you. So on this point, we are even. Although you concealed something at first, you didn't do anything in the end. Even if you were wrong, the fact that you brought me back from afar is enough to offset everything. No. Antonio wanted to refute again, but was stopped by Lin Fan with a gesture. Why don't we just forget about all the unpleasant things that happened before, and stop cheating, and get along with each other openly? Okay. Antonio agreed with a smile, and the low mood that had been bothering him for so many days was instantly cleared. ZHU Kunjin didn't say anything beside him. Is it because his thinking is out of date? Why does he feel that the conversation between these two people is always a bit weird? Otherwise, call John Woo. So, how did you get here? You haven't told me yet. Lin Fan felt that he had solved the problem, and his mood became lighter. Didn't I come here with OV? But I can't, or don't want to, always follow him. You know those politicians. Antonio gave Lin Fan a look. The two of them got along well, and there was no generation gap in their expressions, so when they talked like this, Lin Fan nodded to show that he understood. Antonio smiled and continued. I just wanted to find an excuse to come to you. Who knew that guy kept stopping me before he came, but after he came, he was more active than me. What excuse did he find? Strategic Cooperation Alliance, Mecha Community. ZHU Kunjin finally found a chance to interrupt. Said that Apollo and Xingqian should discuss the similarities and differences of mechas and their cooperation relationship at close range. Lin Fan was stunned when he heard this. What kind of bullshit excuse is this? Oh, yes, that's about it. Antonio gave ZHU Kunjin a grateful smile. I don't know what's wrong with his brain. He made up such a long string of words on the spot. I can't remember it anyway. ZHU Kunjin paused with the kettle. Boy, does your boss know that you said that to him? He made up a topic and sent you here? Lin Fan pointed at the ground. The old man really trusted him. It's not that those who are not of my race must have different hearts, but are they too confident in this guy? Antonio is a young red-haired handsome guy, but he is also a biological armor Apollo. If this guy gets angry, Lin Fan may not have the confidence to take him down. Although he doesn't seem to pose any threat now. Yeah. Antonio replied with a smile. Your old man is quite nice, very easy to talk to, like my grandfather. He knew I wanted to see you, so he sent me here. He also said that these days are the traditional festivals of Country H, and asked you to accompany me to experience it. Oh. Lin Fan suddenly understood. Is the old man trying to win over Apollo by being gentle? It's this guy. I've been laying the background recently. Isn't it too bland? Let him be funny. Chapter 653 Reception. The old man is a very nice person. I also think he is like my grandfather. Lin Fan answered, while glancing at ZHU Kunjin inconspicuously. ZHU Kunjin was behind Antonio. Perhaps because he was afraid that his movements were too small for Lin Fan to see. His eyes were blinking like cramps. Lin Fan realized it and cleared his throat to show that he understood. The last mission before the new year turned out to be two-faced. On the surface, it was to accompany Antonio to celebrate the spring festival, but in fact, it was to make him have a good impression of H country without leaving any trace, so as to have a chance to change his position. This task did not seem easy, but she could try. When your immediate boss asked you to come here, did he have any additional instructions? Seeing that Lin Fan understood, ZHU Kunjin asked Antonio with a smile. Antonio turned around and answered him. Yes, he asked me to seduce Lin and take her back to P country. ZHU Kunjin. Lin Fan. Is this something that can be said? If OV knew, he would probably take off his shoes and spank Antonio a few times, right? What's wrong? Antonio smiled carefreely. He looked at Lin Fan. Didn't we just say that we shouldn't lie in the future? Lin Fan nodded stiffly. That's what he said, but you are too straightforward. Some things are not suitable to be said, and in the adult world, there are always some things that are difficult to say directly due to different positions, and everyone can understand it. Just like if Country H gave Lin Fan some secret mission, if Antonio asked, she might not tell everything. Not lying to him, but it doesn't mean telling everything. ZHU Kunjin tasted something else from Antonio's attitude. This guy is either stupid or not afraid. Thinking about his other identity, ZHU Kunjin felt that the latter possibility was more likely. John Woo once mentioned him, and he is definitely not a fool. Lin Fan can also see that he can get along with him in a short time. Although his girl is not smart, she is not stupid enough to be deceived by a big fool. So, is his confession just a simple show of goodwill, or is he plotting something, pretending to be a pig and eating a tiger? Interesting. The two camps have the same goal, so it depends on who will win in the end. Lin Fan is confident that this girl cannot be abducted. As for this red-haired pig, ZHU Kunjin's smile deepened, and he filled the empty cups of the two with new tea. Come on, don't just chat, drink tea. Antonio actually doesn't like drinking tea from H country, but he's not stupid, so how could he say it directly? Lin Fan doesn't like drinking tea either. She always thinks it's bitter and not as good as Coke. But she doesn't have a sense of taste now. These are all feelings from the past. The main thing is that she drinks one cup at a time, which is troublesome for her. After ZHU Kunjin assigned Lin Fan the task of entertaining, he didn't talk much and concentrated on being a tea artist. The two young people talked and laughed, and the atmosphere was quite relaxed. Lin Fan knew that ZHU Kunjin was busy, so after 3 rounds of tea, he stood up and said goodbye. ZHU Kunjin didn't stay, but sent the two to the door, reluctant to leave, thinking that Antonio was his biological son who had been separated for many years. UH country people are so enthusiastic. Antonio sighed with a smile. From the moment he stepped into H country, he could feel the friendliness and enthusiasm of the people around him. Now he also experienced the hospitality of the senior officials of H country, which was equally warm and friendly, and completely different from that guy OV. Really? Lin Fan smiled and said, it's not the first day you know this. Let's go, I'll take you to your accommodation first. Suddenly she remembered that it was the same when Wu Yusen brought her to the Special Affairs office for the first time. Lin Fan smiled, and now she was the one who led the group. Antonio had been carrying his large mountaineering bag, and the luggage was not much, but not too little. ZHU Kunjin had already handled his temporary visitor card for him, so Lin Fan didn't have to make an extra trip, and was going to take people directly to the living area. But Lin Fan didn't know how to arrange the accommodation in the living area. There was no way. He had to find Wu Yusen. When Wu Yusen came, he was smiling, and seeing Antonio seemed like an old friend who hadn't seen each other for many years. The two even high-fived and hugged. Lin Fan looked at him suspiciously. Are these two people so close? Under Wu Yusen's leadership, Antonio's check-in was quickly arranged. They also lived in a small wooden house by the sea, which was similar to Lin Fan's previous house, but in a different location. Don't worry about it being inconvenient. I'll live in the house next to you at night. Call me anytime if you need anything. Wu Yusen pointed to a small wooden house next to him and said to Antonio. Antonio smiled and said thank you. Lin Fan admired him sincerely. Wu Yusen was really thoughtful. After putting away the luggage, Antonio didn't need to rest. Wu Yusen drove his Prado to take people out to play on the street. In fact, the Special Affairs office has everything, and it is convenient for eating, drinking and having fun. Lin Fan privately thought that Wu Yusen took people out to reduce the exposure of the Special Affairs office in front of Antonio. I don't know, but she guessed it anyway. She wrote it down in her little notebook. The three of them had a lot of fun outside, especially Antonio, who had never seen the spring festival in H country. Seeing the streets decorated with lights and colors, which was completely different from their Christmas, he was very happy. After dinner, the three of them went to see a New Year movie. When Antonio showed a little fatigue, he went home. It was not yet 10 o'clock when they sent the man back to the cabin. John Woo sent Lin Fan out, but Lin Fan remembered that she needed to go to the mall to get her hair done. The hair she had saved for a month was already beginning to become uneven again. John Woo wanted to send Lin Fan off, but she stopped him. "You live next door. Don't you just want to watch from close by?" Lin Fan muttered in a low voice. John Woo showed his big white teeth. "You know. Nonsense. I'm not that stupid, okay?" Lin Fan rolled her eyes. "Did the director tell you about his situation?" ZHU Kunjin had probably already written a report on the conversation in the afternoon and submitted it, so it was unknown how much John Woo knew. "Well, I know everything I should know." John Woo's hands were a little itchy, and he wanted to touch the pom-pom on her hat, but he finally held back. "Don't feel pressured, just let it go. His current position is leaning towards you." "Yeah, I don't feel pressured. Actually, I don't know what to do. Just be nice to him, but I treated him well before. You can't ask me to use the honey trap, right?" Lin Fan pretended to lift her non-existent long hair, posed, and said faintly, "But I'm an emotionless Lu Ren." Wu Yusen's heart tightened when he heard her talk about the beauty trap, but he smiled again when he saw her like that. He reached out and touched the pom-pom on her hat and turned her towards the street. "Okay, emotionless Lu Ren, if you don't go, the mall will be closed." "Oh, I won't talk nonsense with you. I'm leaving soon." Lin Fan got on the motorcycle and ran away without looking back. Wu Yusen turned around after watching her back disappear into the darkness. Emotionless Lu Ren, huh? She is obviously the most soft-hearted. He put one hand in his pocket and walked to the door of his wooden house. Looking at Antonio's house from afar, the light in the window was particularly conspicuous in the dark seaside. This guy didn't come with good intentions. "You schemed against me, and I schemed against you." Only Lin Fan was a silly girl who let things take their own course. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 654, Return or Not. Lin Fan sat on the bed, hugging the quilt in a daze. Antonio's appearance yesterday was too sudden, and her brain did not react for a while. After an ideological struggle, the two of them reconciled. Then the new task given by the director had another meaning. Later, Antonio nonchalantly exposed Aowa's ambition, and Lin Fan's CPU, which was not rich to begin with, kept spinning. Later, the entertainment money specially approved by ZHU Kunjin arrived. Although it was used on Antonio, the poor account finally had money, and Lin Fan was happy. Later, John Woo took them out to eat, drink and have fun along the way. Lin Fan secretly observed and wrote down many skills that she found useful. Later, she rushed to get a haircut before the mall closed and made herself a cool sister. After an afternoon and evening like this, she was exhausted physically and mentally and fell asleep on the bed. It was not until she woke up in the morning that she remembered what she had overlooked. She had to go home today. Mother Lin usually doesn't ask her much, but when the Chinese New Year comes, the family affection seems to swell up. Once she shows a little bit of opposition, Mother Lin will explode. According to Mother Lin's personality, when she replied to her return date last time, she must have started to prepare New Year's goods in a big way. Maybe she has already gotten up to prepare lunch for her. Mother is kind and son is filial for a day or two. As for the conflicts that are bound to arise, that's a matter for the future. Let's not consider it for now. What about Antonio? Take him back with us? No, no, no. Lin Fan's first reaction was to refuse. Although Lin's father and mother don't nag about it on weekdays, her age is there. During the Chinese New Year, taking a man of the same age back home, whether it means that or not, it has become that meaning. This is different from the situation of taking Song Ren and others home together in the past 2 years. At that time, they had several people in the group, and it seemed that there would be no unnecessary misunderstandings. But if we only take Antonio this time. Lin Fan fell back on the bed heavily. She could almost imagine the reactions of the two elders at home. Can I take him? It's impossible. Not to mention that this is a set task. Just because of Antonio's hidden identity, Lin Fan couldn't leave him in the special office and let Wu Yusen or other colleagues accompany him for a few days. If she didn't know he was Apollo, it would be fine. Now that she knew, she couldn't treat him as an ordinary person. Even though they had just made up their minds yesterday and seemed to be friendly. But Lin Fan herself knew the power of biological armor. She also understood the truth that people's hearts are hard to predict. When there is no problem, everyone can be good friends. But if something happens, only her Xingqian can suppress Apollo. Of course, the eldest brother in the 1,000-year-old master should also have the ability, but one can't be caught, and the other can't be found. In terms of consequences, it will naturally not be faster than her close supervision. Yes, Lin Fan felt that the old man asked her to accompany Antonio with another hidden task as supervision. If he just came to Lin Fan to apologize, and for pure friendship as he said, then let Lin Fan play with him well. Hello, I'm good. Everyone is good. If there are other purposes, then let Lin Fan play with him. As soon as he lifts his tail, Xingqian can press him down in the first time. If it were anyone else who could stop Apollo, forget about the energy cannon and lightsaber, he could destroy a large area with a wave of his hand, so it would be useless to go any further. So he had to be suppressed by Xingqian, who was equally matched with him. Apollo was still dangerous in everyone's eyes, but if Xingqian was by his side, he would have many concerns, which would become the safest constraint. In other words, Antonio took the initiative to find Lin Fan this time. If not, the old man would have thought of a reason to send Lin Fan to Antonio. Although they wanted to recruit Antonio, compared to their own girl, who knew everything about him, everyone was on guard against this country boy. Lin Fan was also a person who had seen the society, and his brain was not as good as those at the top of the pyramid, and he could not react quickly. But if he spent time thinking about it, he could think of a lot. Even if we don't talk about the crisis under the undercurrent, it didn't make sense for her to go home and leave him alone. Lin Fan thought that his emotional intelligence was not that bad, and he couldn't do such a thing. So this spring festival, for both public and private reasons, she must spend it with Antonio. Otherwise, not going back for the new year. As soon as this thought flashed through Lin Fan's mind, the phone rang. She trembled all over and crawled over tremblingly to take a look. Sure enough, a crow brain can't think well. Hey, Xiophon, are you coming before or after dinner? If the time is about the same, your father and I will wait for you for lunch. Lin's mother's high-pitched voice was full of anticipation and joy, and she was obviously looking forward to her daughter's return. Lin Fan held the words in her mouth. Should I just say I won't go back? For lunch, we will have your favorite food. Lin's mother didn't notice anything unusual on the other side, and she just shouted the names of the dishes loudly. Your father and I started yesterday, and the beef tendon is stewed, so you can come back to nourish it. Lin Fan held the phone, feeling the rare warmth, and the words in her heart could not be said. The last time she went home was during the spring festival last year. Because of the sudden shrinkage, she didn't say goodbye properly, and suddenly ran away. The two elders thought that she was angry with the man below, and Lin's mother didn't dare to provoke her for a while. Now, a year has passed. Did Gro's previous attack affect the old couple? How are they in good health? Do they report good news but not bad news? The concerns that she deliberately ignored on weekdays suddenly became clear at this moment. The Special Affairs Office was originally short of leave, and her job was dangerous. At the end of March, it was still unknown how to deal with the unknown visitor from the sky. She was lucky to survive this time, but would she? Maybe this New Year's Day would be the last time they met. Lin Fan began to feel pessimistic as he thought about it. Xiophon. The voice on the phone didn't know when it became Lin's father. Is the signal bad again? How is it possible? Lin's mother's voice was a little far away. Didn't someone just come to inspect the signal tower in the middle of the month? I'm here, Dad. Lin Fan quickly answered. Xiophon, when will you arrive at noon? Do you want to drink Coke or coconut milk? Dad has already bought you several bottles. Which one do you want to drink? I'll put it in the warm water pot and heat it for you. Drink it while eating. It's warm. Lin's father asked with a smile. Lin Fan couldn't say I won't come back. Dad Lin waited for a while, and then he felt her hesitation. He quickly thought of his daughter's special job, and tried to speak. Did something happen, and you can't come back? What? You can't come back? Before Lin Fan could answer, Momlin on the other end exploded. Why can't he come back for no reason? His boss doesn't celebrate the new year? He doesn't let people rest during the new year? Dad Lin tried to persuade him, but the old couple started arguing after just a few words. Lin Fan heard the originally harmonious atmosphere on the other end of the phone suddenly change, and hurriedly shouted, "Come back, come back. Stop arguing. I will definitely come back." Dad and Momlin stopped talking when they heard it. But how can the anger of a quarrel be so easy to get over? Momlin glared at Dad Lin fiercely, slammed the door, and went back to her room. Dad Lin picked up the phone and suddenly didn't know what to say next. Lin Fan said a few words of comfort, hung up the phone, and rolled on the bed with his head in his hands. It's so hard to be a human being. Chapter 655 Antonio's Food Hunting. In the choice between taking Antonio home and facing a series of unnecessary troubles and annoying Lin's mother and no one living a good life, Lin Fan resolutely chose the former. Are you kidding? Lin's mother's power is comparable to a nuclear explosion. Her stress disorder has not been completely cured yet. Now touching Lin's mother's tigers, but is not conducive to the sustainable development of her mental health. It's the lesser of two evils. We must solve the problem from a strategic perspective. Lin Fan got up listlessly and washed up. For a moment, she had the idea of asking John Woo to go back with her. When there are more people, it is not easy for the elderly to think too much, which is similar to the year before last. But thinking that Woo's father and mother must be at home, looking forward to their son's new year, Lin Fan felt that she was too selfish. How could she bear to disappoint such a good father and mother? Forget it. Solve your own problems yourself. Don't always think about troubling others. No matter how troublesome it is, it won't suddenly become smaller than before, right? Lin Fan wiped her face roughly and decided not to think about these messy troubles for the time being. Things will work out when the time comes. After putting 2 sets of clothes into her handbag, she checked the time and sent a message to John Woo and Antonio. Antonio quickly replied with a good morning. John Woo replied directly that they were going for a morning run on the beach. Okay. Long live this sudden friendship. But it was great to have John Woo's help, otherwise, how could she be so relaxed? Lin Fan hurried down to pick them up, and when the car drove to the beach, she saw 2 tall men waiting on the roadside from a distance. Antonio blew a loud whistle after seeing Lin Fan's new hairstyle, stretched out one arm, and made a hitchhiking gesture with his thumb up. Lin Fan parked the car next to the 2 people, and before she could say anything, Antonio came up with a smile. Hi, beautiful. Can I get a ride? Is this what foreigners call humor? Lin Fan was not very sensitive to it, but still replied with a smile. Okay, come on up. Antonio looked up and saw that Wu Yusen had already sat in the passenger seat leisurely. He was startled and felt a little disappointed, but soon he smiled again, climbed to the back seat, leaned forward and asked, "Where are we going?" "Take you to the cafeteria for breakfast." Lin Fan glanced at Wu Yusen and saw that he did not object, knowing that the cafeteria was a safe area. Oh, is it the cafeteria last time? Antonio was even happier. I still remember the delicious food I ate last time, and I still remember it. Can I still eat it today? You have been there? This was an unexpected answer for Lin Fan. Wu Yusen explained beside him. When I sent you back before, I took him to my office to take a shower. During your surgery, I took him to the cafeteria to eat something, and then went to the ward to watch over you. Strictly speaking, this is his second time to come to the institute. Lin Fan was in a coma, so he naturally didn't know what happened last time. After waking up, Lin Yusen didn't specifically mention this part. After all, no one expected Antonio to appear suddenly, even Zhu Kunjin felt it was sudden. Lin Fan asked what they had eaten last time. The canteen has a rich variety of dishes, but not all dishes are prepared every day. After such a long time, the things Antonio has been thinking about may not be prepared today. Wu Yusen said something ordinary and common. Lin Fan suspected that he had heard it wrong, and looked at Wu Yusen, and got a positive answer. Looking at the rear view mirror again, Antonio had a look of expectation. Okay, it's not just 1 or 2 days that Leopi's food is not good. Look how greedy the child is. There are no diners in the fragrant canteen, and even the chefs who were bustling in the past have become fewer. I don't know if it's just that there are fewer people, or if they have cleared the place in advance. Lin Fan temporarily suppressed his thoughts and smiled and took Antonio to the window to find food. The food at the window is still as rich as before, so rich that Antonio kept asking what this is and what that is. It's probably the same. When Leo entered the Grand View Garden. Didn't you bring him here last time? Lin Fan took advantage of Antonio's immersion in the food and quietly fell behind to whisper to Wu Yusen. Last time I didn't feel like taking him around, so I just picked up a few and sent them to the table. Wu Yusen held a tray in each hand, taking out Lin Fan's favorite food along the way. Lin Fan also had a tray in her hand, which was filled with things she wanted to eat. Antonio looked at the full tray in his hand and hated his small appetite. When he looked back at the 3 plates of food of the 2 people behind him, he felt itchy, but still felt something was wrong. Hey, friends, although I don't want to miss any of them, but you took too much. If you can't finish it, it will be wasted. This is not good. Recently, there has been a shortage of food in P country. Antonio will certainly not starve, but there are many people who can only fill their stomachs. He said this out of consideration. Lin Fan's face suddenly blushed. How can she say that this is all her food? Don't worry, she can finish it, and there will be no leftovers. Wu Yusen skillfully held a plate in each hand and asked Antonio, where do you want to sit? Antonio clearly understood, but felt that he didn't understand. Looking at the empty seats, he found a place nearby to sit down. When Wu Yusen put all the food on the tray in front of Lin Fan, he finally realized it. Is it all for you? Yeah. Lin Fan scratched his head, a little embarrassed. Antonio knew that some people were born big eaters, so he didn't feel too much about Lin Fan's large appetite, but he soon realized it. No, you didn't eat so much before. But wasn't it outside? How dare you eat so much? Isn't it just to scare people? Lin Fan chuckled. There's no need to hide these things in front of our own people. Antonio nodded and grinned. So I'm one of our own people now? Sort of. Lin Fan couldn't tell Antonio's position at all and urged him perfunctorily, eat quickly, it won't taste good if it gets cold later. Antonio didn't continue to ask questions. The fragrance on the table rushed into his nose and he couldn't bear it anymore. Unfortunately, after eating a few plates, he felt that he couldn't eat anymore. Although his body didn't respond, he had never eaten so much at one time before, and he felt that the food had blocked his throat, so he obeyed his heart and stopped. Antonio looked at the 2 dishes left on the tray and thought about how he had just said that Lin Fan and the others were wasteful. Antonio felt a little embarrassed. While Wu Yusen was cleaning the table, Lin Fan did not forget his duty to greet the guests. Seeing Antonio's annoyed face, he smiled and asked, are you full? It's okay if you can't eat more, I'll eat it, it won't be wasted. The food was obviously untouched, and Lin Fan didn't mind helping to solve it. This time it was Antonio's turn to feel embarrassed. With a red face and a grumble, he said, thank you. When these words came out, both of them were startled. Thinking that it was because of this thank you that their identities were exposed, they laughed at the same time. Speaking of which, Lin Fan adjusted the position of the plate and started a new round of eating and drinking, and at the same time, did not forget to talk to Antonio. Don't you need to eat more? How do you replenish your energy normally? Antonio thought about it and finally linked eating with replenishing energy. He showed a look of sudden enlightenment. Ah, so that's how it is, I thought. He slapped his head and said in annoyance, look at my head, I should have thought of it earlier. It seems that you have different ways to replenish energy. Wu Yusen confirmed. Yes, I do. I replenish energy by drinking. Antonio smiled. He felt that this was not a secret and there was no need to hide it. On weekdays, I don't need to replenish energy. It doesn't matter whether I drink or not. It's just that during the battle with Grow, the consumption was really great. I almost drank all of Ova's private collection. Antonio couldn't help laughing when he thought of Ova's face. You didn't see it. He couldn't bear to give it to me, but he had no choice but to give it to me. It was really miserable. Lin Fan and Wu Yusen smiled at each other. This Ovi is really a dog who hates people. Even their own people don't like him. He is in such a miserable situation. Lin Fan doesn't like Ovi either, and happily handed Antonio a drink. Wu Yusen thought more. Is this guy expressing his true feelings or deliberately pandering? Well, it's too short to tell. But it doesn't matter. He leaned back in his chair, brushed off the non-existent dust on his cuffs, and looked at the red-haired man who was laughing at Lin Fan with his eyes behind his glasses. Playing tricks? Don't you even know who the ancestor is? The day before yesterday, a treasure actually gave me a reward. Wow, I even suspected that I had seen it wrong. I counted zeros several times. Hahaha, I'm happy. Thank you. I don't want to admit that I'm a scum for the big red envelope. Hahaha, I only make more than 100 yuan a month, and this red envelope is equivalent to what I earn in half a month. But it seems that the red envelope has to be divided half to the platform. Well, but I'm happy too. Recently, I have been typing honestly. Is it because the plot is not good that no one leaves a message? But think about it, it's also good not to leave a message. At least there are no unhappy voices. Am I good at chicken soup for myself? I feel great. Hahaha. Everyone should be happy today. Mua. Chapter 656 Equatorial Ring Project. Antonio may think that eating or drinking to absorb energy is an individual difference. But Lin Fan received an important message. Antonio does not need to take an extra energy on weekdays. She hid her thoughts by lowering her head to eat. So she always needs to eat to make up for the huge energy deficit on weekdays. Is it possible that it is because 818 has not been fully absorbed and the evolution is incomplete? Antonio saw Lin Fan lowered her head and said nothing and thought she was unhappy. After thinking about it, he hurriedly explained. I'm not an alcoholic, it's just that I was really deficient at that time, so I had to drink more. You know. I understand. The body is hollowed out. I understand. Lin Fan smiled and looked up to answer. She was afraid that Antonio would find out the difference between them, so she hurriedly made up for it. But I like to eat. I liked it before, and anyway, I can't get fat, so I can eat as much as I can. I understand. Antonio didn't know whether he believed it or not, and laughed heartlessly. For you girls, not getting fat is a blessing from God. Is that right? Lin Fan pretended to be excited and gestured to Antonio with his hands. I knew you understood me. John Woo watched the two interact quietly from the side, stretched out his hand to push his glasses, and smiled. With such familiarity, who could tell that the two were in opposing camps and just met yesterday? Life depends on acting. His lens Iagwe is not easy. While Lin Fan was eating, Antonio chatted with John Woo. As they chatted, Lin Fan found that the topic had turned to outer space deployment. John Woo is really amazing. For the same person, Lin Fan only talked about eating and drinking, while John Woo raised the topic to strategic deployment in just a few words. Lin Fan decided to go back and ask this senior special agent for advice on the art of speech. The two in front of him had already talked about the external defense system of Langsing. Equatorial Ring? Lin Fan heard this word for the first time and felt very fresh. Yes, it is to build a comprehensive space system around the equatorial plane outside Langsing. Antonio often hangs around OV after all, so he knows a lot. It's like Langsing's artificial starring, gathering various satellites, the functions of a space station, and also has a transit, defense and attack system. Lin Fan thought of Saturn's rings in his head and had a rough idea. Isn't that a ring-shaped space station? Lin Fan simplified it with his own concept. Yes. Antonio clapped his hands and smiled. Isn't it a ring-shaped space station? It seems that Gro's sudden invasion this time has reminded everyone. Wu Yusen smiled faintly with his hands across his chest. Once the equatorial ring is built, the defense system will be expanded from Langsing's mainland to space. Mass destruction incidents like this should not happen again. Although each country was relatively well preserved, from the perspective of the preservation of the entire Langsing culture, many ancient buildings were destroyed into ruins. Not to mention a large number of modern buildings, and there were casualties. Many small G's were almost overturned, and hundreds of years of history were destroyed. From the history of human development, it can be regarded as the darkest moment. If it weren't for the frequent measures taken by each country, it's hard to know what Langsing would be like now. But culture has never been a single culture. Each country is the only one, and from the perspective of Q power, it is indeed a great relief. But the extinction of other cultures is also regrettable. Therefore, after the dust settled, in addition to the upper level Q power competition, scientists are actively looking for ways to avoid repeating the next tragedy. The advanced research results released by each country at the right time gave everyone more inspiration, so it took only a few days from the proposal to the perfection of the equatorial ring concept. Putting aside the lack of technical capabilities, this plan is simply perfect. As for technology, after each country showed the plan to the ugly woman, the other party raised her eyelids and didn't curse, and even provided relevant information. Each country was overjoyed. Although they didn't quite understand it, what the ugly woman meant was that the equatorial ring concept was not a problem at all. As for technology, it can be conquered sooner or later, and it's good to be successful. This matter is not a secret among the upper level in the scientific research circle, but the business scope of the Special Affairs Office does not include this area on weekdays, so even though ZHU Kunjin knew about it, he didn't spread it down. After all, it is still a long way from concept to completion. Compared with the equatorial ring, they are more concerned about the unknown aircraft. This is why Lin Fan, who is obviously of high status and well informed, heard the news from Antonio. Yes, once the equatorial ring is completed, all foreign forces who want to enter Langsing must first pass through the defense of the equatorial ring. I heard that the concept technology is very good, but I don't know if I can see it in my lifetime. Antonio smiled. The development of the space station has gone through countless years, and it has only matured in recent years. In the entire Langsing, only P&H countries can successfully launch and build it. The volume of the equatorial ring is much larger than that of the space station, and the technology is countless times more complicated. It is really a technological product that you may not be able to see in your lifetime. Lin Fan raised his head and thought, if the equatorial ring is built, space should be able to accommodate people for a long time. The space must be much larger than the space station, and it may be as spacious as the shuttle, and maybe a shopping mall or something can be arranged. By then, it should be more convenient to travel to and from space with shuttle-like flying vehicles, as convenient as airplanes. Maybe we don't even need it. Wasn't there a science fiction movie a while ago that used a space elevator? If the equatorial ring is built and rotates with Langsing, then the space elevator can be realized. The three people who are not so proficient in technology are all imagining a bright future. Gro's sudden appearance has played a very big role in promoting the technological development of Langsing. So blessings and disasters are interdependent, and everything cannot be seen alone. After a happy breakfast, Lin Fan was going to take Antonio home. Antonio was looking forward to it. Anyway, with Lin Fan, he didn't care where to go. Going back to pick up the luggage, John Woo sent the two of them to the high-speed rail station. The tickets to Kaohsiung City were not tight, and John Woo easily helped Lin Fan change the ticket and booked seats next to each other for the two. Really don't need me to accompany you? Before the security check, John Woo handed the bag in his hand to Lin Fan and asked worriedly, "It's okay, it's fine. Just put your mind at ease and go home to be with Dad and Mom Woo." Lin Fan took the luggage bag and patted Wu Yusen's shoulder with his backhand. It didn't look like he was still worried about it this morning. Okay. Wu Yusen didn't bother much and smiled and took out the woolen hat she had thrown on the sofa in the office from his pocket. "You should keep this. It's cold, and your head will definitely be cold in a place without air conditioning." Lin Fan took the hat, smiled and waved goodbye to Wu Yusen, and quickly disappeared into the crowd with Antonio. There were quite a lot of people on the train during the spring festival. It was not the first time for Antonio to take the high-speed rail, but it felt very fresh to be with Lin Fan. The two chatted about this and that in the car, and they were quite happy. After getting off the high-speed rail station, they still took a taxi back to the community. This time the taxi did not take a detour and sent the two to the gate of the community at the fastest speed. Lin Fan walked in with Antonio, and when they were downstairs of their own unit, they couldn't help but give him a shot of prevention. "My mother has a somewhat excited personality. If she offends me, Antonio interrupted her with a smile. What are you talking about? What kind of relationship do we have? Your parents are my parents. Don't worry. He stretched out his hand to push Lin Fan's shoulders and asked her to move forward. Lin Fan heard that he had come to this point and it was not good to continue to expose his mother's skin in front of others. Forget it. Just adapt to the situation. Lin's mother was watching TV and eating melon seeds at home, holding a plastic shell tray in her hand. Why hasn't Xiaofan come back yet? She looked at the wall clock and saw the time. It should be about time. She stood up and prepared to go to the window to check. Just after taking 2 steps, there was a noise at the door. Lin's mother smiled. It must be Xiaofan who is back. Old man, go and heat up the food. Lin's father stumbled into the kitchen and Lin's mother didn't even have time to put down the plate in her hand. She ran 2 steps to open the door. Lin Fan had just inserted the key into the keyhole and before he turned it, the door opened from the inside. Lin's mother stood at the door with a happy face, but she opened her mouth with a complaint. Why did it take so long? Lin Fan didn't want his mother to give Antonio a bad first impression, so he interrupted her quickly. Mom. The next moment, Antonio walked up the stairs to Lin Fan's side. It was the first time that Lin's mother saw a foreigner in person. Before she could react, she saw the foreigner smiling at her with a cool face and shouting in fairly standard H language. Mom. Lin's mother was in a state of panic at the time. The plastic basin in her hand hit the floor directly, making a loud noise, and then it kept turning clang clang clang. The frequency gradually increased and then slowed down until it stopped. Chapter 657 Mother-in-law meets son-in-law. Hey? Why are you standing at the door? Lin's father just came out with the dishes. Seeing the door open and the old woman standing at the door, he hurried over and said, let Xiaofan in quickly. The cold wind is coming in. Turn on the heating. Who is this? Antonio raised his hand happily, but Lin Fan covered his mouth as soon as he opened it. With his other hand, he pulled his arm a little forcefully and led him inside. Let's go in first. Lin Fan didn't know if Antonio did it on purpose, but now was not the time to worry about it. Didn't you see that Lin's mother was dumbfounded? Lin's father pushed her aside for some reason to make room for the two to enter the door. She still kept her previous expression and posture and didn't move. Lin Fan closed the door with his backhand and handed Antonio a pair of slippers. The two changed their shoes, went into the house, put their luggage next to the sofa, and turned around to see Lin's mother still standing there. Lin's father looked at the old woman, and then at the red-haired man who suddenly appeared in the house. Xiaofan, this is my friend, a foreigner, came back with me to experience the spring festival in our country. Lin Fan asked Antonio to sit down first, and walked towards Lin's mother. Oh. Although Lin's father was stunned for a moment, he was still accepting and asked, what's your mother doing? It's okay, she doesn't speak H language very well, and she said something wrong, which scared her mother. Lin Fan walked in front of Lin's mother, still stunned, and felt a little funny in his heart for some reason. I didn't expect that Lin's mother would be scared one day. Mom. Lin Fan gently pushed Lin's mother. It's not good for the old lady to be like this, it's scary. Lin's mother woke up quickly due to external force. With a cry of ah, she saw Lin's father standing in front of her and grabbed his hand. Old man, I just saw Xiaofan come back. Yes, he's back. Lin's father responded subconsciously. And he brought a red-haired devil with him, calling me mom. Lin's mother didn't care what he said and shouted out in one breath. Lin's father looked stiffly at the red-haired male devil sitting on the sofa, smiling at him foolishly. This time it was his turn to be stunned. After Lin Fan finished explaining, the four of them sat at the table to eat. It was already 2 o'clock in the afternoon. However, during the Chinese New Year, everyone is free, so it doesn't matter what time you eat. When Lin's father knew that this was not his daughter's boyfriend, he breathed a sigh of relief. Don't say he is biased. Who has served in the army can have a good impression of the Japanese, although so many years have passed, but anyway, being friends is fine, but if this is a son-in-law, he would feel uncomfortable. Come on, eat more. Lin's father happily picked up food for Antonio, and he was getting more and more pleasing to the eye. Lin's mother's feelings were completely opposite to Lin's father. She was also shocked at first, unable to react and accept it. But after Lin Fan finished explaining, she took a closer look at this red-haired, no, Zioan. He is good looking, tall, strong, always smiling, and looks happy. The most important thing is that he glances at Zio Fan from time to time, and that look. Lin's mother believes that she has also been through the youth, and if you say it's nothing, she doesn't believe it anyway. The age looks about the same. The appearance is also suitable for her daughter, and isn't it said that she has good benefits? Now that things are more open, there is nothing wrong with marrying a foreigner. There is a girl in the next community who married and lived a good life abroad, and her parents always brag about it to others. Humph, what's the big deal? Moreover, going home alone with the opposite sex to meet her parents during the Chinese New Year, even if this foreigner, well, Zioan doesn't understand. Zio Fan can't not understand. She still brought him here. What does that prove? Mother Lin's mind was racing. Her daughter, who usually urged her to get married, never said a word, and now suddenly made a big move, and kept it a secret. Mother Lin curled her lips. She will be 39 years old after the Chinese New Year. Why is she still picky at this age? It's enough to have a man who is almost right at first sight. She had thought before that it was really not easy for Lin Fan to find a partner like this, and they were not picky about the conditions, as long as he was a man. This little Lin is so pretty and well proportioned, much better than what I expected in my heart. It's really a pleasant surprise. While Lin's father was chatting with Antonio, Lin's mother had already thought about how to arrange the wedding, how many tables to set up, where Lin Fan would live in the future, how many children to have, and whose surname to take. Then she took out the eyes of a mother-in-law looking at her son-in-law, and kept greeting her, so enthusiastic that Antonio was suddenly a little scared. Aunt is really extraordinary, Anton whispered to Lin Fan, while the two elders left the table. This sentence uses P language. As soon as Lin Fan saw Lin's mother's expression, he knew that she must have misunderstood something, but it was difficult to explain. First of all, Lin's mother didn't say anything. Everything seemed to be implied, and Lin Fan couldn't rashly bring up this topic. It would be better not to say it. The more you talk, the more confusing it will be. Even if you make it clear, you will put yourself in a dilemma of forced marriage. Why bother? Secondly, is Lin's mother someone who can be persuaded? She still believes that the money that was cheated back then can be recovered. It's just a matter of time. Lin Fan didn't want to waste his energy. As long as the conflict was not exposed, let Lin's mother think whatever she wants. After all, it's not a crime to think. Overall, the meal was a good one for both the host and the guests. Antonio learned from Lin's father's explanation that in country H, mom and dad cannot be called casually, and it has a specific meaning. Looking at the little red-haired boy's respectful appearance in front of him, Lin's father couldn't help but feel a little proud of suppressing the great powers. Seeing Antonio was getting more and more satisfied, Lin's mother asked this and that. During the meal, she knew that the other party's parents were both dead. He had no relatives, he had a house and a car in country P, and his salary was very high. She felt that this son-in-law was really suitable. As for Lin Fan, it was rare that no one cared about her during this meal, so she had a quiet time. But she was always tense, for fear that Antonio would say something shocking again. But I don't know if it was Lin's father's teaching that worked, or what. From beginning to end, except for the mom at the door, Antonio's words were moderate and there was nothing wrong. This guy couldn't have done it on purpose, right? Lin Fan muttered to himself. But Lin's father had already taught him a lesson, and Antonio nodded in agreement, so it was not appropriate to bring it up again, as if she was being too fussy. However, seeing her daughter taking care of Zion and always paying attention to the way he spoke, Lin's mother felt that this son-in-law was a done deal. The four of them had their own thoughts, and they were all satisfied with the meal. After the meal, Lin Fan wanted to take Antonio to the hotel at the entrance of the community to get a room, but Lin's mother stopped him and said, "Why waste that money? Just let him stay in your room." Lin Fan looked at her, as if it was a matter of course, and was silent. "He stays in my room, so where should I live? We only have 2 bedrooms in our house. You don't want me to sleep on the sofa, do you?" Why are you sleeping on the sofa? You can sleep in the room with him. Lin's mother patted Lin Fan on the back with a smile. How do you sleep outside? You can sleep the same way when you come back. It's okay. Mom is very open-minded. Young people. Lin Fan didn't want to say a word and directly told Antonio to leave this home. It turns out that every time I come back, I don't want to stay longer. Antonio didn't hear what Lin's mother said. He was carrying his bag and wanted to say goodbye to Lin's mother, but was pulled out by Lin Fan. The two walked downstairs in the community. Antonio saw that Lin Fan was not very happy and took the initiative to speak. Uncle and aunt are very good. I feel the joy of family. Lin Fan remembered that his parents were gone, stopped, and looked at him seriously. Sorry. Hey, Lin, there is no need for us to talk about this. Antonio smiled and put his arm around Lin Fan's shoulders and pushed her out. I haven't experienced this kind of experience of being surrounded and cared for by my parents for a long time. Lin's mother leaned on the window and looked downstairs eagerly. Humph, you still don't admit it. She is going to look through the almanac to see what day is suitable for marriage. Chapter 658 Antonio's Gift. The hotel is not far from the gate of the community, and it is the same one where Song Ren and his friends live. The facilities and decoration inside have not changed, but the price has doubled. Lin Fan readily paid with public funds and experienced the happiness of rich people again. After checking in, there was nothing to do. Lin Fan, who felt sympathetic, did not want to face Lin Ma so soon and took Antonio to stroll around the city center mall. Gaoshi is a small 4th or 5th tier city, and foreigners are rarer than giant pandas. What's more, Antonio is tall and handsome. On top of a large piece of black hair, there is a model face with red hair. It is so abrupt that anyone around will notice it, as long as they are not blind. Antonio is a bit of a social cow, and at first he smiled and let people look at him. But when the sights gradually increased, hundreds of people stared at him like a monkey. Even Antonio felt scared. Lin Fan felt that the crowd around him was getting denser and denser, and the space around him was getting smaller and smaller, and he felt very uncomfortable. She was of a decent height, so she stood on tiptoe and looked around, and she knew where the trouble was. She pulled the man down, took off her woolen hat, and put it on Antonio's head, covering up the eye-catching red hair. The hat that John Woo gave her was a basic black style, short and small, without woolen pom-poms or fancy decorations. It fits well on the head and looks like hair from a distance. After Antonio put on the hat, although his head still stood out, if you don't look at the front from a close distance, he is just a tall guy with no attractive features. Although Lin Fan's hairstyle has a high rate of turning heads, you have to get close to see it. Immediately, people who heard the news from afar could not see the excitement and quickly dispersed. Lin Fan took advantage of the looseness of the crowd and pulled Antonio away, turning around and going into an alley that she didn't recognize. Country, there are so many people, Antonio exclaimed with a smile. I have always known that there are many people in country, but the concept of numbers and the immersive experience are really two different things. That's not a lot. Lin Fan didn't expect that he would run away in a familiar place and wipe the sweat from his forehead. When I was a kid, there was a lantern festival during the Chinese New Year. There were so many people that you couldn't even see the buttons on your chest when you looked down. Today, there are not enough people. Oh. Antonio immediately became interested. Is it still there now? Can you still see it? Lin Fan thought about it. I don't know. In the early years, there were too many people and some accidents, so the Lantern Festival hasn't been held for a long time. I'll ask if there will be one this year. There's no need to check this matter. Just ask Lin's mother directly. Their group of old sisters are very proficient in this kind of life news. Which supermarket is going to hold an event? Which new store is opening and giving gifts? They can make a schedule for you according to the date. For large-scale events like the Lantern Festival, Lin's mother must know if there is one. After taking a rest to cool down, Lin Fan felt his head start to get cold. Her hair had just been trimmed. Although it was not bald anymore and looked pretty good, the back of her head was still short and you could see the gray skin. It doesn't matter in summer, but in this cold winter, the dampness and coldness in the south really penetrates into the head. When Antonio saw Lin Fan covering his head, he wanted to take off his hat. Don't. Lin Fan stopped him. If you don't want to repeat the scene just now, you'd better not take it off outside. Then what are you going to do? Antonio looked at Lin Fan, who was extremely cool and his hair was shorter than his, and he couldn't bear it. It's okay, I'll buy you a new one later, and we can just switch. Lin Fan smiled and patted his pocket. I have plenty of money. Antonio knew that she was entertaining him with public funds this time, so he didn't argue with her and urged her to go to the mall quickly. The new year is approaching, and although there are many people on the street, they are all in a hurry. Because it's cold, most people shrink their necks, put their hands in their pockets, and look down. After Antonio had a hat disguise, except for a few young girls, almost no one noticed him. For the first time, he felt that the feeling of being indistinguishable from the crowd was so good. In the mall, there is air conditioning, so it's not cold. The two went in to find a hat with a purpose, and soon found the target in a boutique. Lin Fan originally wanted to buy a new hat for Antonio and replace his old one. Just now, he was in a hurry and didn't care about so much. Now that he has the conditions, of course he can't give him the old one, so he should buy a new one for himself. But Antonio didn't want to. He picked and chose and said that the hats in the store didn't suit him. He just liked Lin Fan's monk hat. You can't force people if they don't like it, right? You don't want to send unhappy gifts. Lin Fan had no choice but to take him around the mall and look for men's hats everywhere. The woolen hats that were originally in great demand were particularly difficult to find this time. Until Lin's mother called and urged him to go home for dinner, he still didn't buy a hat that suited Antonio's taste. Is this hat good for me, or are you reluctant to give it to me? Antonio took the initiative to speak when he saw Lin Fan was discouraged. It's not that I'm reluctant. I've worn this hat before. It's old. It's not suitable for you. Lin Fan said helplessly. What's wrong with it? Antonio looked puzzled. I don't dislike you. Lin Fan joked. Is this a question of dislike or not? But looking at the situation, the plan to buy a new hat for Anton today probably won't be realized. If I don't go back in half an hour, Lin's mother will start bombarding me with phone calls. Okay, since you don't mind, I'll take it back tonight and wash it before giving it to you. Lin Fan decided not to resist and not to cause trouble for herself. Okay. Antonio smiled. Then let's go buy you a hat. I think the one we had before is very suitable for you. Let's go. Lin Fan was so focused on showing Antonio men's hats that she didn't remember what a suitable hat would look like until she was pulled to the boutique at the beginning, in front of a girlish hat with a blue and purple thick cable pattern and an oversized wool ball. In the moment she was stunned, Antonio had already put the hat on her head. In fact, it looks pretty good. Lin Fan's face is young, beautiful, and her skin is fair. Wearing a big woolen hat, the whole person looks tender and girlish. But Lin Fan is not used to it. No matter how young her body is, it can't change the heart of a vicissitudes of life old aunt. At the age of 38 or 39, it's a bit inappropriate to call her a woman, but she is definitely not a young girl. But she is indeed a bit pretty. Lin Fan bit her lip, tilted her head with some entanglement, and pretended to glance at the side casually. Let's go. Antonio saw Lin Fan's hesitation and liked her, and pulled her arm to the cashier without saying anything. I'll give it to you. Hey, Lin Fan didn't care about the hat anymore and quickly refused. No, I have money. Didn't you give me a hat? Why don't you want to accept it when I give you one? Antonio suddenly stopped, with a hurt expression on his face. Lin Fan didn't know what to do immediately. Damn, I feel like a scumbag. Then, okay. Lin Fan let go. Actually, think about it, there is really no need to push back and forth for things worth only a few dozen yuan, and I can find a chance to make up for it later. Besides, they are still friends, and it's not good to be too fussy about the details. Antonio changed his depressed look and smiled as if nothing had happened. Lin Fan watched him happily take out his phone to pay the bill and began to recall the previous scenes of their interactions. Could it be all acting? But after thinking about it, he couldn't tell. Forget it. Let's destroy it. I feel that this year's new year may be doubly tiring. Chapter 659. She is not a normal girl. When Lin Fan got home and saw Lin's mother staring at Antonio's head with a look that said, "I know everything, you can't hide it from me," he realized that she had screwed him again. Forget it. If there are too many lice, you won't be afraid of bites. Didn't she just think Antonio was her boyfriend? Just let her think so. Lin Fan decided to play it off during the last 2 days of the old year and the beginning of the new year. Lunch was late, so naturally she wasn't hungry at normal dinner time. But once it gets dark, the biological clock that has been developed over the years will drive people to sit at the table habitually and eat a little bit, at least for older people. The four of them sat around the table again, watching TV and chatting, and eating was actually a side job. After Lin Fan got out of the high-speed train, he never took off his hat. It was just that the previous hat was black, and it fit his head well, so it wasn't noticeable. At lunch, Lin's mother was so focused on Antonio that she didn't even bother to look at her own daughter and didn't even notice that she was wearing a hat on her head. It's different now. The new hat was colorful and covered his head wide, making his face look smaller, not to mention a fist-sized flower ball. After Lin's mother smiled and moved her eyes from Antonio to Lin Fan next to him, she was displeased, no matter how she looked at him. Why wear a hat at home? But she didn't say it clearly, but when she went to the kitchen to get food, she took off the hat by the ball of hair while passing behind Lin Fan. After the 9-turn scream, Lin's mother roared, "What happened to your hair?" Lin Fan didn't expect Lin's mother to suddenly attack, and the moment she felt a chill on her head, her whole body muscles were mobilized. But when she saw Lin's mother's empty seat, she quickly reacted to who was behind her. As soon as she relaxed, she was frightened by the huge voice. It was a real shiver, and it shook visibly. Antonio was so scared that he didn't hold the chopsticks firmly, and they fell on the table, hitting the dinner plate with a clanging sound. Lin's father was also stunned when he saw Lin Fan's head, but then he scolded Lin's mother. "What are you yelling about?" He pressed his chest with one hand and groaned, "Ouch, ouch." Lin Fan was really scared this time and quickly stood up to check. Lin's mother jumped twice and didn't care about Lin Fan's head. She ran to the room and took out a bottle of quick-acting heart pills. After a while of chaos, everyone sat down on the sofa. Lin's father's face had returned to normal. He was holding a bottle of boiled water and drinking it slowly. Lin's mother was also very scared. Seeing that Lin's father had recovered, she was greatly relieved. Sitting on the sofa, she didn't know what to do for a while. She looked around and saw Lin Fan's head again. "You." Just as she opened her mouth, she heard Lin's father groaning beside her. "Speak properly." The voice was not loud and there was a little weak sound, but Lin's mother immediately restrained herself. "Why did you get your hair like this? Which decent girl shaved her hair like this? Boys have longer hair than you." Although the voice was not loud, there was blame in her words. Lin Fan pouted. She didn't mean it. Besides, how can a haircut like this be unserious? He rolled his eyes and didn't want to talk. Lin Fan's hairstyle is actually quite good. Although it's short, the barber skills are good, and it's not masculine at all. She looks like a cool young lady. If she were in the fashion industry, or in first-tier cities like Gao and Sujiu, no one would question anything. But Lin's mother has always lived in Gaoshi. It can't be said that this place is backward, but many people's consciousness has not yet advanced to a certain extent. From today, Antonio was surrounded by people on the street and almost caused a stampede. Lin Fan's hairstyle is actually not much more low-key than Antonio's red hair. It's just that she has black hair, and she has a lot of clothes in winter, and she has been wearing a hat in the early stage. Although her head is exposed at the back, if you don't look at her face, many people think she is a man. The rate of turning back is a bit high, but it doesn't have much impact. Since Lin Fan became bald and her hair was forced to be cut short, she doesn't like her big head. After her hair finally grew longer and looked better, she was quite satisfied with this new hairstyle and thought it was good to try something different. How could she be happy when she was criticized by Lin's mother? She didn't even ask why, but just said that she was bad. Humph. Angry. Look. She rolled her eyes at me. Lin's mother slapped her thigh and complained to Lin's father. Lin's father ignored her, and she looked at Antonio again. "Look at Zion. He's a man, but his hair is longer than yours." Tell me, what do you think? Ah. Really, you're so old, and you're not a worry at all. Can't you live like a normal girl? In the minds of the older generation, a girl with a buzz cut is as improper as a man with long hair. How could a good girl shave her hair like this? There must be something wrong. Antonio was good, but he just pretended not to understand, and smiled and didn't say anything. Of course he knew what was wrong with Lin Fan's hair. But can he tell it? Lin Fan had told him a long time ago that her identity was secretive, and even her parents didn't know. Antonio naturally knew the seriousness of the matter, and it was impossible for him to be embarrassed at this time. Lin Fan, however, began to feel depressed again after what Lin's mother said. What should a normal girl be like? Long flowing hair? Gentle and obedient? Good grades in school? No worries for the family? And admission to a good school? Not dating in college? Focusing on study? Finding a good job that parents are satisfied with? And then finding a partner that parents like? Then get married and have children? And then life revolves around the trivial matters of the family, serving the husband, taking care of the children, and providing for the elderly of both parents, and no longer having a self in life. Sorry, she really can't do it. In fact, Lin Fan's first half of her life was almost along this trajectory. Unfortunately, she was unlucky and took a detour before getting married, and her life has been a whirlwind since then. Now, let alone being a normal girl, she is not sure whether she is a normal person. There is no hope of getting married and having children in this life. Family trivial matters. She will probably be trapped by the family trivial matters of Lin's mother and father in this life. After all, in other places, everything is well arranged. She only needs to eat, drink, play, sleep, and work hard to contribute when there are tasks. So, she is indeed not a normal girl. Lin Fan lowered her head and laughed at herself. Lin's mother thought she was resisting her, raised her finger, and wanted to scold again. Auntie, Antonio spoke softly, pulling Lin's mother's eyes away. I like her hairstyle like this. It's very beautiful. Lin's mother thought Antonio was deliberately helping Lin Fan out, and her heart softened all of a sudden. She smiled and took back her hand, and replied gently, "You, don't spoil her too much. My Xianofan has a hard temper, and is not easy to mess with." Antonio's eyes were smiling. I know. How can Xingqian be easy to mess with? He was almost electrocuted to death by her. Lin Fan looked at the two of them with a loving mother and filial son, and felt that this year had ended before it even began. Chapter 660 Temporary Safety. On New Year's Eve, Lin Fan was worried about Antonio, the guest, and got up early. Lin's mother had gotten up a long time ago, and was busy in the kitchen. When she saw Lin Fan getting up, she didn't say much, as if nothing had happened yesterday. Of course, for her, nothing had really happened. Lin Fan once again thanked himself for meeting Jin Sichen and learning a lot of ways to adjust his mind. Otherwise, she took out 2 washed and dried hats from the washing machine and patted them. The residual temperature on them made her palms warm and very comfortable. When Lin's mother passed by, she naturally couldn't help but nag a little. The gist was that the 2 hats needed to be washed and dried in the washing machine, and the electricity bill was free, etc. Lin Fan pretended not to hear it, shook the hats, and hung them on the balcony to cool, then washed his face and brushed his teeth. He had to go to the hotel to pick up Antonio later. This guy's different from Song Ren and the others. Different positions, different familiarity, different defense levels, and he is a distinguished guest. The reception attitude is naturally different. If Song Ren and others, or even John Woo, came, Lin Fan might not go to pick them up. Antonio is not okay. You have to hold him in your arms and watch him. No matter how nice you are to me, it is impossible to completely relax psychologically. Lin Fan treated him as the first party of the company at the time, and it didn't seem so difficult. Besides, isn't there a layer of friendship filter? Be sincere. The most important thing for a person is sincerity. Patting his face with cold water, Lin Fan felt much more sober. Looking in the mirror, hiding the guard in his eyes, with a curved corner of his mouth, revealing a perfect smile, Lin Fan went out. Antonio had woken up a long time ago. The ping pong sound of 2 feet kicking outside made him think that something special had happened. After knowing that it was firecrackers, he still couldn't be completely relieved. He was so startled and slept in a daze all night with no quality at all. Fireworks are also banned in the urban area of Kaohsiung, but the Lin family's community is close to the suburbs, so they are not banned there. Although the continuous sound of firecrackers is at a certain distance, it is still loud, setting off the atmosphere of the new year and making the children and the city envious. Seeing Antonio's listless look, Lin Fan knew that he had not slept well the night before. He sympathetically handed him his hat and put it on himself, suggesting, "How about we change your hotel? You shouldn't hear the sound of firecrackers in the city center." Lin Fan was not afraid that Antonio would cause trouble because he was far away. For them, it didn't matter where they were. Even if it was in the city center, Lin Fan would just go there in the blink of an eye. But what was Antonio trying to do? He was not a murderer. Unless he was stupid, he would not cause trouble near Lin Fan. Just like everyone was afraid of Apollo, Antonio was also afraid of Xingqian. He was even more complicated than others. He was electrocuted and lost consciousness in the first encounter, and then was rescued by Lin Fan in the explosion. Many complicated emotions were intertwined, and he came here with the mission of making friends this time. After comprehensive evaluation, Antonio would not make any dangerous moves for the time being. This news was sent to Lin Fan by ZHU Kunjin last night, and it was the psychological evaluation report made by Jin Sichin. After seeing this, Lin Fan relaxed a lot, and most of his worries were gone, leaving only a little bit of instinctive vigilance towards Apollo, which she hid well. No, it's too far away from you. Antonio put on his hat and refused without thinking. What are you going to do? In the next few days, the sound of firecrackers will become more and more frequent, making people unable to sleep. Lin Fan walked out side by side with him. I'll get used to it after a while. Antonio grinned and put his hands in his pockets nonchalantly. If it doesn't work, I can always buy a pair of earplugs. It's okay, I'm such a big person, don't worry. Lin Fan nodded and didn't persuade him much. The sense of propriety of adults is also reflected in these modesty. When they got home, Lin's mother came forward to greet them warmly. Of course, only Antonio. Lin Fan automatically and consciously went into the kitchen to move breakfast. In the morning during the new year, they were used to eating buns. As an elite representative of middle-aged women, Lin's mother went to a well-established breakfast shop early in the morning to steam several steamed buns and put them in the freezer. Every time she eats, she takes a few out to steam. When the buns are finished, the new year is almost over. The thin-skinned and large-filled buns taste really good. Antonio enjoyed them and did not forget to praise Lin's mother. Lin's mother is so beautiful that Antonio likes her more and more. As the neglected daughter Lin Fan and Lin's father kept silent, Lin's mother has a desire to show off. The more she responds, the more excited she becomes. Guests can respond, but they can't. If they don't respond well, they will be in trouble. No one wants to make themselves unhappy during the new year. The best way is to play dumb and ignore it. There is no difference between New Year's Eve and the day before, just eating. Maybe everyone is preparing the New Year's Eve dinner. The air is filled with the aroma of food from unknown families, intertwined, and the New Year's atmosphere is gradually enhanced. If Lin's father hadn't stopped her, Lin's mother would have served the New Year's Eve dinner at noon. Everything was ready, and there was nothing that needed Lin Fan and his help. After lunch, seeing that Lin's mother wanted to chat with Antonio again, Lin Fan took him directly into the bedroom and closed the door. Hey, this child. Lin's mother was about to knock on the door. Why close the door in broad daylight? Just say less. You've been talking from yesterday to today, and you're not tired. Lin's father couldn't stand it anymore. If you keep talking, you'll ask about his ancestors. Let the child be alone for a while. Lin's mother instinctively wanted to refute, but when she saw the closed door, she was happy again. It's good for the two of them to be alone. Being alone makes the relationship better, and they can get married earlier next year. After saying that, she ran away humming a song. Lin's father felt that the old woman's brain was somewhat problematic, but he didn't know where to start, so he simply ignored her, put on his reading glasses, and read the news on his phone. In the room, Lin Fan sat cross-legged on the bed, playing games with Antonio who was sitting on a chair. She originally wanted to take the man out to avoid him, But after thinking about it, she couldn't take him out every day. Gao City is so small, there is nothing fun to do. If you take people out every day, you can't just hang out in the same mall, right? It's cold, and today is New Year's Eve. The mall closes early. If you go there, you will have to leave in less than 2 hours. The forest park is scheduled for tomorrow. We will go there in the morning and come back in the afternoon. It's too late to go there now. Should I take Antonio to the open air square for a stroll? No, it's cold, and that pile of bricks and stones is boring. After weighing it, Lin Fan decided to hide at home. Didn't Lin's mother think that Anton was her partner? Then she would use magic to defeat the magic, and the two of them would play in the house with the door closed. It doesn't matter what you play, at least you can hide for a while. As for what Lin's mother thinks, that's not what they can control. The moment the door closed, Lin Fan saw Antonio was relieved. The two smiled at each other and found a game with good reputation to start playing. Both of them are novices and are very bad at playing. But the eldest sister doesn't laugh at the second sister. Ridiculing others is equivalent to mocking oneself. As the game level increases, time passes happily. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 661 Antonio's Loneliness. On New Year's Eve, everyone was happy and joyful. Perhaps it was because of this special day, or perhaps it was to leave a good impression on Antonio. Mother Lin was cheerful and did not make trouble, and the atmosphere was comfortable and pleasant. The New Year's Eve dinner was eaten early, and the table was served before 6 o'clock. No matter how sumptuous the New Year's Eve dinner for 4 people is, it is not much more, and 2 hours is enough to finish it. After a simple cleanup, the 4 of them moved to the sofa to watch the Spring Festival Gala together. Father Lin and Mother Lin each had a single sofa, and let Lin Fan and Antonio sit on the long sofa facing the TV. Lin Fan pretended not to see her mother's teasing eyes, and took a handful of melon seeds and stuffed them into Antonio. This guy was surprised to see shelled melon seeds for the first time yesterday. After being taught, he has become proficient in eating melon seeds without looking at them. Now, he is holding the melon seeds in one hand and putting the melon seed shells into the shell-spitting bowl on the coffee table with the other hand. Seeing that it was really troublesome for him to reach back and forth, Lin Fan directly put the bowl on his legs and grabbed a handful of raisins and ate them while leaning on the sofa. Antonio had never watched the Spring Festival Gala. He was shocked at first sight. It turns out that each country has shows to watch during the Spring Festival. They are colorful and lively. Lin Fan didn't know how much he understood. He was concentrating for a long time before he remembered to crack a melon seed. He was so happy that he couldn't help himself. This year's party was probably influenced by alien high technology. The stage had a lot of cyberpunk technology flavor. The lighting and stage design were different from previous years. There was a kind of cold and sharp beauty, but the colors were as vulgar and elegant as always. Plus the various lively songs and dances performed in the front that were appreciated by both the refined and the vulgar. Lin Fan couldn't find an accurate adjective to summarize it for a while. He could only say that it was a fusion of multiple elements. Dad Lin was watching TV with his mobile phone. As he watched, his eyes began to daze, and his head nodded. Mom Lin was energetic. From time to time, she talked to Antonio next to her about the wonderful programs on TV. Antonio smiled and nodded. It was unknown whether he really understood or pretended to understand. After eating raisins, Lin Fan opened a bag of potato chips and sat cross-legged on the sofa to pass the time. In previous years, everyone was in their own rooms, lying on the bed watching the small TV. Didn't you see that Lin's father was sleepy? This year, Antonio was there, and Lin's mother forced everyone to feel the family atmosphere outside. How should I put it? It's a bit strange and a little uncomfortable, but it's good if there is no quarrel. Lin Fan feels that her requirements for family warmth are getting lower and lower. Although Lin's mother is not the object of warmth, it's really good to have this. At this party, many clips from the previous fight against Gro were specially played. Lin's mother patted the armrest to wake up Lin's father, who was sleeping with his head tilted opposite. Lin's father was startled, opened his eyes, and saw the scene he was passionate about. He immediately became energetic and clapped his hands loudly. The 2-minute video flash mob accompanied by exciting music was displayed in front of him through the huge TV screen. Lin Fan seemed to have returned to the past that seemed to be annihilated, but was actually hidden deep in her heart, and the whole person became cold. Her wrist was suddenly held by someone, and she subconsciously pulled her hand away, but failed. Turning around, Antonio was looking at her worriedly. Lin Fan blinked, pulled herself out of her consciousness, and silently thanked him. Antonio smiled and let go of her hand, turning back to watch TV. How could Lin's mother ignore the interaction between the two? She smiled and lamented that the relationship between the two was definitely not as simple as ordinary friends as Lin Fan said, but she was very dissatisfied with Lin Fan's expression. "You kid, why are you so sad at such an exciting moment? RG Family's heroes have worked hard to win the battle. Who are you looking at with a sad face?" Lin's mother is indeed Lin's mother, picking thorns without hesitation. Lin Fan didn't know how to reply to her for a moment. On TV, the host had already paid tribute to all those who contributed and sacrificed for this war, and the next program was a children's play. This was to reproduce the whole process of the Gro War in an easy to understand form. Soon, a cartoon image of Gro appeared in the sky, and then the stage changed, and a group of people in doll costumes rushed onto the stage. Children's plays basically have to take into account the acceptance of children. The characters are all cute, and the story avoids all kinds of negative things, all of which are positive. It roughly summarizes the story of Gro's attack and each country's resistance, and finally the victory. The real process of fighting Gro cannot be announced to the public, but there have been many speculations from the public during this period of time. This time, it is also an explanation to the public, to tell a general outline in the form of a fairy tale. Whether it is the alien insect monster or the Mecha warrior on the stage, they are all cute in doll costumes, which is far from the horror and coldness in reality. Because the form is too cute, Lin Fan is still interested in watching. A group of big dolls jumped and fought the battle. In the end, 5 dolls of different colors, representing the stars and Fuguang, Jingang, Yufeng, and Binglin, held hands and danced in circles on the stage, representing the advent of peace. The big doll that played Pandu and served as the background of the stage waved his hands behind him, and a group of children who played mechas and ordinary soldiers swayed together. That scene, anyway, Lin Fan was amused. Suddenly, Antonio came over and asked in a low voice, "Why am I not here?" Lin Fan glanced at the guy from the side, and he looked a little aggrieved. On TV, there was indeed no black mecha representing Apollo. Lin Fan touched his nose. How could she know this? But he couldn't pretend he didn't hear Antonio's question, so he could only make up an excuse. Maybe it's because of copyright. Apollo is a mecha from country P, and it's different from them. If it is to appear in a public place like the Spring Festival Gala, there should be a copyright dispute, right? Is there? Lin Fan was not sure, she just couldn't think of any other excuse. Antonio froze. In the past, it was always said that country H did not pay attention to copyright, and piracy was prosperous. Why was it so strict now? Seeing the mecha dolls on TV, they were all holding hands, but he was not there. Antonio inexplicably felt a sense of loneliness and abandonment. He was the one who fought against foreign enemies together with the star doll, and they should have been holding hands in the end. Silence, unhappy, but helpless. Mother Lin watched the show with a smile on her face. When she turned around, Antonio was frowning, with his arms crossed over his chest, and his face was full of unhappiness. She was stunned, and immediately shouted at Lin Fan, who was standing next to her, as if nothing had happened. "What did you do to Zioen again? What do you mean by what did you do to her again?" It was as if she had done something to him before. Lin Fan sighed helplessly. Once she was at home, all the chaos seemed to be related to her. "I didn't do anything to him." He was unhappy because he saw that the mecha from their P country was not there. Although she was helpless, she still had to say it back, otherwise it would be easier to get into trouble. Oh. Mother Lin really stopped talking, turned around and persuaded Antonio with a smile That big black guy, right? It's okay without him. Look at our Xingqian. Our Xingqian is the best. Chapter 660 To the pain of carrying a vest. When Lin Fan heard Lin's mother say our Xingqian, his heart trembled, and he thought his vest had fallen off. But he immediately realized that it was impossible, because he had just scolded her with disgust. Look at Lin's mother's smiling face. When she talked about Xingqian, her tone was as if she was her own daughter, and he was the child she picked up. Although she is Xingqian, this feeling. Lin Fan smacked his lips. It was really weird and wonderful. Antonio smiled and glanced at Lin Fan. Seeing her strange expression, he smiled and replied to Lin's mother. Yes, Xingqian is the best. Really? We all think Xingqian is very good. Although the big black guy in your G family is not bad, we still like little Xingqian the most. Lin's father also became energetic, and he stood up from the sofa and moved closer to Antonio. The demold eyes were bright and energetic, and he turned from a sleepy old man to a spirited old man. Antonio naturally knew that the big black guy they were talking about was himself, but he didn't care and continued to answer with a smile. Yes, I like Xingqian too. Lin Fan was squeezed by Lin's father and felt uncomfortable, so he climbed onto his original single sofa and sat down. Lin's father sat down and showed Antonio various photos of Xingqian saved in his mobile phone. On TV, the host began to introduce that the Mecha dolls headed by Xingqian and other peripherals were officially on sale online. There are single player versions and group sets. You can get them by scanning the quarter code in the lower right corner. Lin Fan was stunned. This set is really good. Why don't she buy a set to collect? The little Xingqian doll in the host's hand is quite cute. She just stood up and wanted to touch the mobile phone on the coffee table, but was stopped by Lin's mother. Come on, help me scan it quickly. I want to buy the whole set. Looking at the mobile phone that almost hit his face, Lin Fan took it reluctantly. Okay, it doesn't matter who buys it, as long as there is one at home. Helping Lin's mother to scan the quarter code smoothly. Wow, there are quite a lot of peripherals. In addition to dolls, there are also bookmarks, keychains, USB flash drives. When the videos were all over the place before, Lin Fan didn't realize that she was famous. Because of her emotional problems, she deliberately avoided those video information, and no one deliberately ran to her ear to remind her. Now, seeing these toys and peripherals, she really understands. Why are you in a daze? They are all gone. Seeing that Lin Fan didn't return them to her, after scanning the code, Lin's mother came over to grab them herself. If you make me unable to buy the Xingqian doll, I won't forgive you. Lin Fan leaned on the sofa and watched Lin's mother staring at her mobile phone intently to select products. Lin's father also entered the online shopping page with the help of Antonio, wearing reading glasses to look at the products bit by bit. This feeling, how to say it, is very strange. The four people sat in front of the TV, but none of them had the heart to watch TV. After a while, the mobile phone on the coffee table rang, and Lin Fan got up to pick it up. When he opened it, it was a message from Antonio. Still not me, crying face. Lin Fan looked up and saw Antonio looking at him with a wronged face. He knew that he must have also scanned the quarter code to go in and see it. She lowered her head and replied to him with a smile. Then you should quickly give us the copyright. Antonio, you are right. Lin Fan looked up again. Antonio was holding his phone and typing non-stop, probably to ask for the copyright. Think about it. It is a good thing with no disadvantages anyway. It is a good opportunity to test the tolerance of P country, which is good. It seems that I will consider the problem from a different angle without realizing it. Lin Fan propped his head on the armrest of the sofa with one hand and pinched the phone with the other hand, unconsciously turning it twice, watching TV, but his mind was drifting to who knows where. After shopping, Lin's mother looked up and saw Lin Fan's sitting posture, and her good mood was gone immediately. Look at you. Can't you sit properly? Do you look like a girl? To be honest, Lin Fan sitting cross-legged on the sofa like this, a bit like the posture of a sleeping Buddha, it is really not good looking. But at home, not like outside, naturally do whatever is comfortable. But Lin's mother thinks it's not okay. Zioen is still here. Lin Fan couldn't stand Lin Ma's nagging. Although he felt unhappy, he cooperated by putting his legs down and sitting up straight. Look at Xingqian, she's the same age as you. can go up to the sky and down to the earth, and land crossing saved her just because she asked. Look at you. You can't even sit properly. Lin Ma continued to nag. Lin Fan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Was she praising her? But she still scolded her afterwards. What if she couldn't be happy at all? Retort. Isn't Xingchen also unmarried? She also likes to eat, drink, play and sleep. How is she different from me? Why didn't you say anything about her? How can you two be the same? Lin Ma glared at him, her nostrils getting bigger. Who is she? Who are you? What's there to compare between the two of you? We are alone. Lin Fan replied silently in his heart. Besides, my Xingchen is so outstanding. She must be too busy with her career and the men around her are not outstanding enough. You are not like that. Lin's mother was about to criticize Lin Fan, but she glanced at Antonio next to her and softened her tone. You have a good opportunity, so hurry up and grab it. You still want to compete with my Xingchen? Antonio laughed at her. They are obviously the same person, but her parents are ignorant and admire the glamorous and beautiful identity and hate the real daughter around them. This extreme split makes people wonder how to deal with it, because whether it is praise or scolding, the target is actually her. Looking at Lin Fan's complicated expression, Antonio was glad for the first time that his parents were gone, and he didn't need to bear such complicated emotions. At this time, Lin Fan's mobile phone rang, disrupting her confused emotions. It was a New Year's greeting text message from the Special Affairs Office and the 623 group. At her. Lin Fan looked at the lively congratulatory messages in the group and suddenly understood why so many people like to chat in the virtual world. Because it's fun. She replied to the messages one by one and also sent her own blessings. Soon, John Wu called via video. After Lin Fan answered the call, she immediately saw Wu's father and mother behind John Wu. It's been a long time since we last met. She almost blurted out to say hello, but then she remembered that she probably didn't know the two elders. John Wu pretended to know nothing and introduced his parents to Lin Fan. Lin Fan immediately called them and then wished them a happy new year. The two elders were still so friendly. After a few polite words, they smiled and let the two chat alone. Before she could say a few words, a large shadow fell on Lin Fan's side. When she looked up, she saw that Lin's mother had walked around behind her without knowing when. Isn't this Xiao Wu? Lin's mother quickly found John Wu from her memory and was as happy as if she had seen her long lost son. John Wu greeted politely. With this greeting, Lin's father naturally had to be on camera. The phone was passed to Lin's father and Antonio also chatted with him. Do you know each other? Mother Lin was a little nervous when she saw Antonio pick up the phone, but she was surprised to see the familiar tone of the two people talking. Yes, we are colleagues. John Wu replied with a smile. While Mother Lin was stunned, Lin Fan snatched the phone away, rushed to say a few words to John Wu, and quickly hung up. If he didn't hang up, he was afraid that Mother Lin would snatch the phone. Mother Lin was full of complaints when she saw that she couldn't say more to Xiao Wu, but there was nothing she could do. Think about Xiao Wu, then look at Xiaoan. By the way, there is also Xiao Song. I don't know how he is doing. Oh, it's troublesome to have too many candidates for son-in-law. Chapter 663. Human sorrows and joys are not the same. When Lin's mother asked about Song Ren, Lin Fan casually said a few perfunctory words, saying that he was busy with work. But once he thought about it, he naturally couldn't let it go. He was afraid that this year would be difficult. Last year, they had sent a video call to wish each other a happy new year. This year, given Song Ren's situation, it was probably impossible. After she sent a message in the 623 group, she sent a New Year's greeting message to Song Ren, Li Chunhua and the other four separately. Everyone else replied, but Song Ren's chat box only had her message. Lin Fan thought about it, sent a message to Li Chunhua, asking about their New Year's situation and Song Ren's recent situation. Li Chunhua replied that everything was fine. It was not known whether he wanted to hide it from Lin Fan or he didn't realize the situation. Looking at the chat record with no information content, Lin Fan clicked his finger and walked to the balcony to call Jiyu. Sister Lin. The other side quickly answered, and Jiyu's cold voice came. Lin Fan first wished him a happy new year and then asked about their New Year's situation and arrangements as usual, which were almost the same as what Lee Chun-hua said. Because of Song Ren, everyone stayed at the institute, and the atmosphere during the new year was okay, but because Song Ren stayed indoors, it was a bit regrettable. When asked about Song Ren's situation, his statement was different from Lee Chun-hua's. Lee Chun-hua said everything was fine, but Ji-yu said that the situation had changed. The captain seemed to have discovered that the progress these two times was slower than before, and his mood and attitude had changed. Ji-yu stated calmly, which was completely different from Lee Chun-hua's noisy and general statement. What do you mean? Lin Fan frowned slightly, feeling a little distressed. You know, since the first time his sense of touch was restored, the captain's mood has been full, and he has cooperated very well. We thought that according to this progress, his recovery would have a big leap forward around the new year, at least a visible change, but this is not the case. Ji-yu sighed softly. We don't know what the healing principle of living water is, nor do we know what the second and third declines in efficacy represent. Although no one has told the captain, he feels it himself. His optimism is declining, and his cooperation is not as good as before. Didn't you say that the sense of touch is still recovering? Lin Fan asked. Yes, but the recovery rate is much worse than the first time, and much worse than expected. If the current recovery rate is maintained, Ji-yu sighed again, it will take the captain 1 or 2 years to regain control of his body. 1 or 2 years, although it's a little longer, it's not impossible. Didn't he take more than half a year to recover after his knee injury? Why can't he wait? Lin Fan asked. Song Ren's will is much stronger than that of ordinary people. When his knee was damaged, no one thought that he could continue to shine in the military, but he did it. It just took a little longer. Lin Fan didn't understand why it didn't work this time. I didn't explain it clearly. Ji-yu pinched the root of his nose. 1 or 2 years is a control of the body. He can raise his hand and his foot whenever he wants. It's the level that ordinary people can live without being affected. Lin Fan probably understood. You mean, he can't drive a mecha in the future? Don't even mention mechas. Running and jumping will be a problem in the future. Ji-yu's words were a little anxious. Lin Fan held the phone in his hand and was speechless for a long time. Is Song Ren still Song Ren if he can't drive a mecha, can't run and jump? Yes and no. When they were all cheering for saving Song Ren's life, Song Ren gave up because he couldn't demonstrate his own value, let alone a mecha. What will become of Song Ren who can't even run and jump? Lin Fan refused to think about this question. This, isn't it confirmed yet? Let's see, maybe it will be different after a while. Lin Fan scratched her head. Maybe she used too much force. She felt her scalp throbbing with pain. Well, indeed, this is just the current inference, and the results of 3-phased observations can't mean anything. Ji-yu also said it in a positive way. In fact, the efficacy of living water is indeed difficult to determine. Maybe there will be an explosive growth in the later period. Whether it is self-deception or self-consolation, neither of them is willing to think deeply, but they both firmly believe that this is not the final result. Don't worry, there will be no problem. Song Ren is a devil instructor, a former soldier king. How could he be defeated so easily? Lin Fan smiled. I'll look for other ways here, and I'll definitely make him better. Well, thank you Sister Lin. Ji-yu's voice was a little choked. They all knew that the living water was obtained by Lin Fan's strong request. Although the effect was not as expected, it was at least better than Song Ren lying in bed with only his head moving. I heard that the Special Affairs Office has many methods, and there are many strange people and things. Who knows, there may be ways to help the captain. Ji-yu is looking forward to it, and is so convinced. Song Ren will definitely get better, drive Fuguang again, and fight with them. After Lin Fan hung up Ji-yu's phone, she looked at the colorful fireworks flashing from time to time in the dark night sky outside, and her heart was empty. The way to save Song Ren, she didn't know. Maybe ask the ugly woman after the new year? Or the eldest brother? People's sorrows and joys are not the same. On this day of lights and decorations, when the whole family is celebrating, there are still people who are sad alone, and even shed tears silently. What's wrong? Antonio came over. Lin Fan shook his head, not wanting to talk about Song Ren. Uncle and aunt are worried about you. Antonio whispered. Lin Fan turned around and saw Lin's father and mother stretching their necks to look over here. Seeing her looking over, he immediately pretended that nothing happened, sat back on the sofa, and deliberately talked loudly about some irrelevant topics. Lin Fan's mouth curled up and chuckled. Antonio put his arm around Lin Fan's shoulders, patted him gently, and said with his head down, "I know you have a lot of secrets that cannot be known by outsiders. I just want to help you and make you feel more relaxed. If you need anything, you can always tell me. Thank you." Lin Fan thanked him sincerely. Antonio is indeed a good person to talk to at certain times. But only at certain times. Hey, why are we being so polite? Antonio smiled and took Lin Fan to himself. Lin Fan's shoulder hit his chest, and he immediately reached out to push him away. "Just talk, why use your hands?" Foreigners' habit of hugging and cuddling is really unaccustomed. Antonio didn't care, shrugged innocently. "Are you feeling better? Shall we go in together?" Lin Fan didn't want to make Lin's parents worry anymore, and was about to agree. "Okay." Before the word okay came out, firecrackers rang out in the sky, ping ping pong non-stop. Antonio, who was originally relaxed, was startled, and his first reaction was to squat and hide under the wall of the balcony. When he saw Lin Fan's calm eyes, he realized that he had overreacted again. Lin Fan looked at his pitiful, innocent and annoyed appearance, and her mood was really much better. Although it was wrong to laugh, she couldn't help laughing. Coming quickly, she waved to Antonio. "If you stay at the window, I'm afraid you will be in a bad mood." Antonio smiled awkwardly and ran into the living room. He opened the shopping app on his mobile phone as soon as possible. He needed a pair of earplugs. Really? Yesterday I received a pertinent suggestion from a child, and I read it carefully. I'm very grateful to this child. But now this novel has become a daily habit. It is okay to skip meals, but if I don't write one day, I will feel guilty, as if I didn't do my homework in school. Although it is a reality that I don't make money, if I reduce the update, the children who support me now and are still following me will be more disappointed, right? I know that in the online world, everyone is essentially a stranger, but it is you who have given me a little support for so long that I have come to this day. I don't want to lose this little connection with you easily. Just think of it as my own sentimentality. Just like I said at the beginning, as long as there is a reader, I will continue to write well. I hope I can do what I say. Let's see which children are still with me when it is finished. Will they all run away? Actually, I know that this child is worried about my current life pressure and hopes that I can do better. She suggested that I add more laughs and depth, which I think is great, but I may not be able to do it at the moment. But I will work hard in this direction, hoping to grow faster and live up to the expectations of the children. I know it's silly to keep insisting on writing a novel that doesn't make money. If not for money, what else can I do? It's a dream, but it's a bit far-fetched. I just think that there are still people in this world who share the same world with me through this novel that no one cares about. It seems beautiful, but also a bit lonely and romantic. Thank you for your company, and I hope that the following stories will still be liked by everyone. Bo. Chapter 664, Cowardly and Afraid. It was past 12 o'clock when the spring festival gala ended. Lin's father and mother could no longer hold on and went back to their rooms to rest. Lin Fan was also a little exhausted, but he couldn't leave Antonio alone, so he insisted on risking his life to accompany the gentleman. In fact, the show was nothing exciting, but every time the sound of firecrackers rang out outside, Antonio would reflexively shrink to wake her up from time to time. It's not easy to think about the people of Old P who can't feel the fun of fireworks and firecrackers. It's a pity that they are banned now, otherwise Lin Fan really wants to take him to appreciate the traditional culture of each country. Finally, the music of Unforgettable Tonight sounded. Lin Fan yawned, stood up, and stretched. Seeing that Antonio was still energetic and didn't look tired at all, he once again sighed that he was really old. What is the sign of a young person? It's staying up late. I can't stay up late, and I have already stepped into the ranks of middle-aged people. Yawning again, Lin Fan called Antonio with tears in his eyes. Let's go, I'll take you home. Antonio watched a lively and colorful large-scale evening party nervously and relaxedly for the first time amid the rumbling of cannons. It was really a feeling that he couldn't be sleepy no matter what, right? Seeing Lin Fan yawning one after another, he knew it was late and didn't want to trouble a girl to take him home, so he refused. No, I know the way, I can go back by myself. Lin Fan walked to the door, put on his cotton jacket, handed Antonio's to him, and asked leisurely, "Are you sure?" Of course. As soon as the voice fell, a firecracker sounded outside, and Antonio shrank again. "Let's go." Lin Fan's mouth curled up slightly, patting the down jacket in his hand. "I'm afraid if I'll let you go alone, I don't know when you can walk back." Anthony pouted and put on his coat in silence. His wise and heroic image was ruined just like that. But he had no room for rebuttal. Who would have thought that the countryman would use gunpowder as entertainment? The two walked downstairs in silence, and it was still quiet all the way, and Antonio gradually relaxed. That's right, who would set off a firecracker in the middle of the night? If it was in Country P, the police would have come to the door long ago. Not long after he relaxed, a cannon exploded with a whistle. Antonio was startled and threw himself directly at Lin Fan. If he wasn't tall and Lin Fan was slimmer than him, he would probably jump into his arms at this moment. Lin Fan immediately used his hands to support the gap between them, but felt that Antonio was really shivering and patted his back pitifully. "Don't be afraid, it's a hand cannon for children. Can this thing be given to children to play with?" Antonio couldn't believe it. He looked around and waited for a while. When he was sure that there was no danger, he slowly let go of Lin Fan. But he still shrank his body and stuck to Lin Fan tightly, wishing he could stick to her. "Yeah, it's just a little toy, there's no risk." Lin Fan felt sorry for him because he was so scared and cowardly, so he didn't push him away, but just walked forward with him. "Don't you country ban guns? It seems that you can buy one with money? You should be familiar with this sound. Why are you still so scared?" People like John Woo and Shenbei, let alone the sound of firecrackers, would not even frown at the sound of real guns. Even Lin Fan, who had received firearms training for a period of time in 800, is not immune to this kind of sound, but at least she is not so timid. It's unsafe if there is no ban. Antonio was not afraid of embarrassment at all, and answered shiveringly, "Who knows if the sound is directed at me? I can get shot accidentally, okay?" Lin Fan thought it made sense. Thinking about it this way, country is still better. She smiled and patted Antonio's hand that was tightly holding her arm, and said with a smile, "Look at you like this. Who would believe that you are a Palo who can stand alone, be strong? Hey, you are still laughing at me." Antonio pushed her unhappily. "Aren't we all fragile when we don't have equipment? If we hit a vital point, won't we still be defeated? It will hurt even if we don't. It's a living hell." Lin Fan was pushed back 2 steps by him without noticing. Before she could say anything, he grabbed her back again. He held her arm and kept looking around. She might have thought she was stealing. Seeing his expression, Lin Fan was too lazy to get angry with him. She quickly sent him back. "You can't do this. How about we change a hotel in the city center? At least you can sleep more comfortably at night." Taking advantage of the silence, the two of them trotted into the hotel. There were several more noises in the elevator and outside. Antonio didn't grab Lin Fan anymore, but his face was still tense, obviously still affected. "It's okay. I bought earplugs. I think we'll be there by daybreak. It's not safe to change places now. I'll sleep with headphones and music at night. It shouldn't be a problem." Antonio shook his head. Lin Fan thought about it and didn't persuade him anymore. According to local customs, after the 30th night, firecrackers will not be set off too frequently. The next time, when the crowds are relatively dense, is on the 5th day of the first lunar month, when they welcome the god of wealth. However, they may not be around by then. After sending Antonio back, he did not bother to talk to Lin Fan. He hurriedly said goodbye and closed the door, as if there was a ghost chasing him outside. Lin Fan did not care and walked home by herself. On the night of the first day of the new year, there were still few stars. The dark sky reminded her of the darkness in space. The air was so cold that it seemed to freeze her trachea, and Lin Fan felt a little sad again. The phone suddenly rang. It was Lin's mother's call. "Hello. Why haven't you come back yet?" Lin's mother's tone was still fierce, but Lin Fan smiled. "I'm in the community." She smiled and answered while walking. For the first time, she felt that Lin's mother's call came at the right time. "That's good. Come back quickly. It's late at night. Although the public security is good, you can't stay outside all the time." Lin's mother said a few vague words and hung up. Lin Fan held the phone with a smile. His melancholy just now was interrupted by Lin's mother, and he didn't know where he had gone. Line crossing is still good. There are people she cares about, and there are people who care about her. On the first day of the Chinese New Year, we still had steamed buns for breakfast. Antonio slept well at night, and was in good spirits in the morning. On the contrary, Lin Fan stayed up late, and was a little sleep deprived, so he was listless. After breakfast, Lin Fan took Antonio to visit the famous ecological resort in Gao City. The scenery was really beautiful, but it was also really cold. However, compared to staying at home and facing Lin's mother, Lin Fan still chose to go out. Compared with the year before last, a small zoo was added to the scenic spot, which looked much more interesting. The two of them walked until dark before going back, and were scolded by Lin's mother. Of course, the scolding was for Lin Fan. On the second day of the Chinese New Year, Lin Fan wanted to take people out to hide, but was stopped by Lin's mother. "Your aunt's family is coming to pay New Year's greetings today. You have to stay at home." During the Chinese New Year last year, Lin Fan helped his cousin's husband to make connections, and created a lot of performance for him. His cousin's husband was promoted and given a raise because of this, and he was very grateful to Lin Fan, but he didn't dare to disturb him too much on weekdays. This time, the aunt asked Lin Fan in advance if he would go home for the new year, and then she said that she would come to pay New Year's greetings on the second day of the new year to express her gratitude. Could Lin's mother miss such a highlight moment? Of course not. By the way, show off her new son-in-law. Lin Fan knew that the aunt's family was coming, and they came especially for her, so it was indeed not easy for her to leave. She had to huddle in the room with Antonio to play games. Before 11 o'clock, there was a knock on the door. Lin's mother thought it was the aunt, so she called Lin Fan to come out to greet the guest, and opened the door happily. Who knew that, when the door opened, it was an unexpected person. John Wu, wearing a black long wool coat, handed over a gift box with a smile. "Hello, auntie, I'm John Wu. Sorry to bother you. Happy New Year." He came with gifts. Chapter 665 John Wu is here. "Why are you here?" When Lin Fan heard Wu Yusen's voice, he thought he was hallucinating, until he saw the person standing at the door. His first reaction was to take out his phone to see if he had missed the message from the Special Affairs Office. It's a long story, hard to explain in one sentence. "Anyway, I came to wish you a Happy New Year." "Happy New Year," Wu Yusen said with a smile. Come in. What are you doing standing at the door?" After Lin's mother realized what was going on, she immediately pulled him into the house. Lin's father also ran out when he heard the noise, and was also stunned when he saw Wu Yusen. Anyone would be stunned to see the person who was still on the phone the night before suddenly appear in front of them. Not to mention Lin's father, Antonio was also surprised. Wu Yusen smiled and handed over the gift with both hands. From head to toe, he looked well behaved, which was liked by elders. Lin's mother had only spoken to him twice in the video before, and thought the boy was handsome, had a nice voice, and was good at work. Now that the real owner was standing in front of her, she looked at him from head to toe without any hesitation. He is a handsome man, a real handsome man. Lin's mother's old face was smiling like a chrysanthemum. She happily accepted Wu Yusen's gift and even pretended to be polite. "Come if you want to. What else do you want to bring?" Lin Fan couldn't bear to watch. "You are consistent in your words and deeds." Wu Yusen came suddenly, but Lin Fan was still very happy. She walked to the door, found a pair of clean guest slippers, and threw them to him. "How did you get here?" She knew that Wu Yusen always drove a Prado back to his hometown. He wouldn't drive all the way here, right? At this time, he didn't sleep at night, and had to leave in the early morning. Look at his face. He is full of energy and you can't tell anything. Hey, for special agents like them, not sleeping for a night is not a big deal. Unlike me, I will feel depressed if I stay up late. Is she the only one who has entered the ranks of middle-aged and elderly people? Sure enough, women still age quickly. Countless messy thoughts flashed through Lin Fan's mind in an instant, and then I heard Wu Yusen laugh. I came here by train. The train is at home. I'll drive it later, when I have a chance. The air conditioner in the Lin family was turned on high. Wu Yusen felt hot when he changed his shoes and walked into the living room. After taking off his coat, Lin Fan took it and hung it on the hook at the door. Antonio had been sitting on the sofa waiting for a long time. When he saw Wu Yusen coming, he patted the empty seat next to him and asked him to sit down. Wu Yusen went over and sat down with a smile, but not next to him. There was not enough space on the 3-seater sofa. Why did two grown men sit so close to each other? Lin Fan saw him sitting down and prepared to pour tea. When he turned around, Lin's mother had already come over with tea. She was also happy to be free, so she sat directly on the remaining single sofa. Lin's father also sat on the sofa and chatted with Wu Yusen with interest. After Lin's mother poured the tea, she saw Lin Fan occupying her seat and immediately drove him away. Get up, this is my seat, you go sit next to me. The sofa in the Lin family was a long 3-seater with a single seat on each side. Now Lin's father and mother were sitting on either side, and John Woo and Antonio were sitting on the sofa. Although there was an empty seat in the middle, the two men were big, and Lin Fan felt that it would be a bit crowded and uncomfortable to sit there. She wanted to step out and move a bench to sit next to her so that she could have more space. As a result, as soon as she stood up, Lin's mother pushed her towards the sofa. The gap between the coffee table and the sofa was not big, and with Lin's mother next to her, Lin Fan fell down unexpectedly. Although she stabilized in time, she was somewhat embarrassed. John Woo and Antonio both reached out to help. John Woo was close and supported one of Lin Fan's arms. When Antonio saw that she had stopped, he withdrew his hand and sat back. Go, sit in the middle, don't block me. Lin's mother didn't know if it was intentional, but she pushed Lin Fan's butt mercilessly. Lin Fan was pushed into the space in front of the sofa. If she stepped out again, Lin's mother would definitely not let her go, and Lin's father's side was crowded again. Forget it. Lin Fan stopped struggling and sat between the two of them. Well, it wasn't as crowded as he had imagined. It felt okay. What did your parents say about you coming here today? Lin Fan asked John Woo in a low voice. Not much, they urged me to come here. John Woo replied in a low voice. On New Year's Eve, when John Woo sent Lin Fan a video, he did not avoid Father Woo and Mother Woo. Although the old couple didn't urge him, they couldn't help but run behind John Woo to peek when they heard the girl's voice. After seeing Lin Fan, not to mention her beauty, she also had a cheerful personality. And somehow, they felt a sense of familiarity with her at first sight, and their favorability was directly bursting. John Woo had a pleasant chat with Lin Fan, and the old couple were also happy to watch. As they watched, John Woo even chatted with the girl's parents, and there was also a foreigner who was suspected to be a rival in love. Mother Woo secretly poked Father Woo. Is this her son's girlfriend? How could Woo's father know? But the last time Wu Yusen talked to a little girl so cheerfully on the phone was when he was in high school. After pondering, he felt that the possibility was very high. Wu Yusen faced a 3-court trial. After hanging up the phone, he told them everything he could about Lin Fan's situation. They were colleagues and partners, so they had a good relationship, but she was not his girlfriend. After listening to them, the old couple muttered for a long time, thinking that Wu Yusen was almost 40 years old, and it was rare for him to have such a special female colleague. They knew their son well, and he must have a good impression of him. As for the fact that she was not his girlfriend, it must be that his son was not working hard enough. Besides, the little girl was single and had no one she liked, and she asked her parents to contact her son. Isn't this an obvious opportunity? Don't be vague when you should act. Wu's father made a final summary speech, asking Wu Yusen to go find Lin Fan in the second year of junior high school, do whatever he wants, and don't stay at home anyway. What are you going to do? Wu Yusen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Although Antonio was not dangerous for the time being, he couldn't help but worry that Lin Fan would not be able to cope with it. The main reason is that the variable of Lin's mother is really unpredictable. Lin Fan's stress disorder has not been cured yet, and Antonio, a troublemaker, is always a trouble. Who knows what chemical reaction will occur when they celebrate the new year together, which will set off Lin's mother. But his parents have not been with him for more than half a year. It is a rare time of family affection during the new year, a day of national reunion, and Wu Yusen can't bear to let the two old people stay alone. Moreover, Lin Fan also hopes that he will go home for the new year, and he has specially bought new year gifts for the two old people in the name of Lin Xiaogui. We can do whatever we want. Wu's mother waved her hand. Isn't it the same every year during the new year? What's the difference after more than 30 years? You are such a big man, and you can't do anything except taking up space. It's annoying to see you. You should learn from me. Wu's father also said, when I was pursuing your mother, I took action when it was time. Those rivals in love. Wu's mother pinched Wu's father and continued to urge him. I see that foreign guy has come to our house. You should pack up and go tomorrow. Get moving. It's better than staying at home with us to watch TV and chat. Yes, we don't want you to accompany us. Father Wu said righteously, go and do your own thing. We are happier when you are not at home. Wu Yusen looked at the two elders with amusement as they chased him away one by one, and finally they started to show their displeasure. Forget it, I was a little worried anyway, so I'll go and have a look. On the first day of the Chinese New Year, Wu Ma and Father Wu dragged Wu Yusen to the street, personally selected a flashy outfit for him, and also selected a gift. Early in the morning of the second day of the Chinese New Year, Wu Ma rushed into the room before dawn, and lifted Wu Yusen up, and personally supervised him to wash and dress, and used a hand-held iron to iron the folds on his clothes. After the old couple personally sent him to the high-speed train, they smiled at each other. So, Wu Yusen appeared at the door of Lin Fan's house. Ha 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 ha. Father Wu and Mother Wu helped by sending Wu Yusen here. The three of them are going to have a good time. Chapter 666. Aunt and Family Visit. Although the two of them spoke quietly, they did not avoid each other deliberately. Mother Lin leaned to one side, resting one arm on the armrest of the sofa, and listened carefully with her ears erect. She easily heard most of what was said. She was so happy. In the past, she had begged and begged, but could not find a son-in-law, but this year, two came at once. Mother Lin happily talked to John Wu, asking one question after another, as if checking the household registration. John Wu was the type that elders liked very much. He answered whatever was asked, and was gentle and polite. Mother Lin's impression points soared up. Lin Fan thought it was really outrageous, and tried to stop him, but was rebuked by Mother Lin. John Wu also smiled, and said it was okay. Lin Fan looked at it and thought, well, I have become the nosy person. Well, as long as you two are happy, do whatever you want. He took out his mobile phone and pulled Antonio, who was doing nothing, to continue playing games. The more Mother Lin looked at John Wu, the more she liked him. Although Xiaowen was also very good, he was a foreigner after all. Unlike Xiao Wu, who is in the same free shipping area, they have similar eating habits, and at least they will not quarrel, because they can't eat together. There was no choice before, and if there was a choice, of course it would be family. And Xiaowen is a few years younger than Xiao Fan. Although it can't be seen from the appearance, sister-brother relationships are also popular now. But women tend to get old after getting married and having children. When the son-in-law is still young, what if he can't stand it? Men are still older and more caring. Xiao Wu is 1 year older than Xiao Fan, and he looks caring. Look at him. On the second day of the Chinese New Year, he didn't stay at home, and rushed over from across the province. It can be seen that he is attentive, and it sounds like his relatives are also very good. The free shipping area has developed transportation, and it will be much more convenient for the child to register and visit relatives during holidays. But Xiaowen's conditions are not bad, and he was brought back by Xiao Fan, so the meaning must be different. Mother Lin watched other people's children get married and have children, and she didn't know how many years she had been looking forward to it. Now she suddenly got an opportunity. That thought, like a flood that broke through the dam, rushed out, and it couldn't be stopped. In just a short while, she had even thought about how many children to have, and whether she should go to Lin Fan to take care of him after he died. These were different plans for two different candidates. If someone hadn't knocked on the door, she would have even thought about what interest classes her grandson should attend. The visitors this time were really the aunt's family. Mother Lin was already in a happy mood, and after seeing the expensive New Year gifts in her cousin's husband's hand, her mood went up a level. It's not that she lacks it, she just likes the feeling of being pampered. Come if you want, bring something. The same opening words, the same routine, no one took it seriously. My cousin's husband got a lot of benefits from Lin Fan last year, so this New Year gift was particularly heavy, just to thank Lin Fan and make old Mother Lin look good. Everyone knows what kind of personality Mother Lin has, but as a family, they don't care about this at all, as long as everyone is happy. When they entered the house, they found that there were guests. Before Mother Lin introduced him, my cousin's husband remembered John Wu. Lin Fan helped to make the connection, and John Wu gave him the convenience. Although he did not show up later, my cousin's husband certainly knew that John Wu had a part in this. Because he could not get in touch with Lin Fan before, he thanked Lin Fan directly. Unexpectedly, John Wu was also there, and my cousin's husband was very surprised. He stretched out his hand from a distance and walked over quickly. Hello, Special Assistant Wu. We met on Xiao Fan's phone last year during the Chinese New Year. I have been promoted and given a raise now, thanks to your help. I'm really grateful. John Wu's hospitality always makes people feel like spring breeze. He shook my cousin's husband's hand slowly, and a few words made my cousin's husband regard him as a confidant. My cousin also remembered who this person was from her husband's reaction. After telling her parents, they all walked over to express their gratitude. Lin Fan's living room is not small, but the sofa is this big. Who sits and who doesn't is a problem. Antonio stood up consciously. He and John Wu are guests, and they should sit on the sofa. But my aunt's family of 4 were also guests, not to mention that my aunt and her husband were elders and old, so they should be allowed to sit on the sofa. But if my aunt's family sat down, it would be inappropriate for Lin's father and mother, who were of the same generation, to sit on the bench. My cousin's husband was also unwilling to sit down. If he sat down, Lin Fan would definitely not be able to sit down. Lin Fan was one of the main people he was grateful to. So after some discussion, everyone simply sat around the dining table. Because my aunt wanted to leave some food for lunch, the small round table had been set up long ago, and it was not too crowded for 10 people to sit on it. My cousin's husband was talking to Wu Yusen about the business of Ririhong, and Lin Fan pretended to be aloof and didn't interrupt. In fact, she knew nothing. My uncle-in-law was exchanging experiences with Lin's father about smoking and drinking. Lin's mother pulled my aunt to whisper, sometimes looking at Wu Yusen, sometimes looking at Antonio. Lin Fan didn't need to listen to know what they were talking about, and pretended that it had nothing to do with him. Antonio was even more amazing, holding my cousin's child on his lap and playing with him. The child was probably seeing a red-haired foreigner for the first time, and he looked at him with curiosity. He was quite bold and actually used stuttering P language to communicate with Antonio. Antonio seemed to like children very much. He didn't care that the child was just in kindergarten. He chatted with him seriously, like an adult. Hey, what's going on? The cousin secretly leaned close to Lin Fan's ear and asked with interest. Aunt said that those 2 are your sweeters. Lin Fan raised his eyebrows and pushed a handful of melon seeds on the table in front of the cousin. Don't you know my mother? She is a man of her word. Don't pay attention to her. She is just an ordinary colleague and friend. The cousin grabbed a few melon seeds and held them in her hand. She secretly glanced at the 2 young men with different styles next to her and asked again, is there really nothing going on? This is the 2nd day of the Chinese New Year, the day when the son-in-law comes to visit. According to the custom in Lin Fan's hometown, on the 2nd day of the Chinese New Year, married daughters return to their parents' home, and the son-in-law also follows to pay New Year's greetings. If they come to visit on this day, let alone foreigners, does Special Assistant Wu really not know? The cousin clearly saw Wu Yusen's eyes looking at Lin Fan several times. Although there was no obvious love between a man and a woman, she felt something was wrong. Really? Lin Fan never thought of this. I don't know. I'm not married. The cousin looked at Lin Fan carefully. As expected, he looked like a fool. She was amazed. Those two handsome guys are both high quality males. You don't like them? Aren't you too picky now? Lin Fan followed her gaze. Wu Yusen was smiling gently all the time, a warm man who was gentle and caring. Antonio was holding the child and smiling warmly, just like his red hair, passionate and flamboyant. Two handsome guys, two styles, looking pleasing to the eye. No matter which one they were, the little sister would be envious and cry. I didn't notice it until you said it. Lin Fan scratched his head. I'm busy with work and don't have time to think about these. Pure appreciation is fine, but there is no love between a man and a woman. I'm a woman without emotions now. Say it again. Before the cousin could answer, Lin's mother exploded, throwing a pistachio on the table. It almost bounced to Antonio's face, but was caught by Wu Yusen. Who are you? How busy are you at work? How come you don't have time to talk about love? I'm putting this here. Lin's mother slapped the table. She was smiling just now, but she got angry in a second. The mood changed so quickly that Antonio was stunned. Although Wu Yusen was mentally prepared, he didn't expect Lin's mother to explode as soon as she said it, so he quickly interrupted. Auntie, Lin Fan is very busy at work. I can prove that she is very busy and hardworking. She is already a senior leader of our company. Lin's mother was not so angry when she heard Wu Yusen speak, but her face was still not good. How can she be busier than you? Auntie, you are joking. Wu Yusen grinned, showing his big white teeth. Lin Fan is the director. Her position is much higher than mine. Strictly speaking, she is my superior. Everyone only knew that the two were colleagues, and Wu Yusen was also the special assistant to the general manager. They thought their identities were equal, but they didn't expect Lin Fan to be of a higher level. She works hard and is well liked by our company's leaders and recognized by her colleagues. She is really busy at work and is not just perfunctory. Wu Yusen continued to speak well of her. Is that so? Lin's mother's expression eased. She was proud of her daughter's efforts. When the Yon's family saw this, they immediately gave all kinds of compliments, which made Lin's mother feel relieved. Just when everyone thought this wave was over, Lin's mother suddenly remembered something and asked, since the leader likes you so much, has your annual salary increased to 1 million now? Chapter 667. Lin Ma's highlight moment. 1 million. Lin Fan had forgotten about this a long time ago, but Lin's mother still remembered it. Wu Yusen quickly recalled that this was the salary he reported to Lin Fan when he first met her. At the beginning, a neighbor heard about it and reported it to Lin's mother, thus putting pressure on Lin Fan to join the special affairs office. The past events were vivid in his mind. Lin Fan's current salary is already more than this number, but it seems that Lin's mother still doesn't know how to solve this problem. Everyone looked at Lin Fan. Why are you asking this? Lin's father knew about it and quickly pulled people in. There are so many customers here. Ask privately later. Would Lin's mother be happy? Of course not. The more customers, the happier she is. She wished that everyone in the community knew how much money her daughter could make. Tell me, how much is your salary now? Lin's mother said, and then she remembered again. How much money have you saved in the past few years of working? I haven't asked you yet. Have you spent money recklessly? I didn't save much. Didn't I donate before the new year? I donated it all. Lin Fan couldn't think of how much salary to report, so he just broke the news to divert Lin's mother's attention. Donated it all? How much money would that be? Lin's mother's voice was high-pitched and a little angry, but surprisingly, she didn't lose her temper. Didn't you save anything? No, I donated whatever I saved. Didn't you have a saying back then? Sacrifice the small family for the sake of the whole, so that the country can be rich and the people can be strong. Lin Fan replied with a grin. It's my dad's fault. He has a high level of ideological awareness. Lin's father laughed and sighed, and Lin's mother was unhappy. What do you mean it's his fault? You're just like me. Yes, it's your mom's fault. Lin's father quickly praised. Your mom played an active role in this donation. With her in charge, our family donated a full 100,000 yuan this time. Lin's mother likes money, but because of what happened before, she has never had a lot of money. This time, she took the initiative to donate more and applied to Lin's father. Lin's father had money, and he had been hiding the card that Lin Fan gave him. But Lin's mother didn't know, and she thought the family only had the first 200,000 yuan in savings. This time, the decision to donate 100,000 yuan, which is equivalent to half of the family's savings, was also made, after thinking about it day and night, and all kinds of heartaches. Lin's father didn't hesitate much, but it was like he was meeting Lin's mother for the first time. This old woman who has been with him for most of his life actually has a shining side that he hasn't discovered. But Lin's father was also afraid, just in case. He specially accompanied Lin's mother to donate. After receiving the donation receipt, Lin's mother carefully put it together with her marriage certificate and real estate certificate, as if it was another important certificate in life. So much money was donated, and Lin's mother was depressed for a long time. During that time, the family had less oil and water, and Lin's father was hungry for a while. Fortunately, the new year was coming later, and Lin's mother, who was preparing for the new year, returned to normal. Hearing that Lin's mother donated 100,000 yuan, the aunt's family was also very surprised. They also donated, but only a few hundred yuan, which was already the most in all the donations. My cousin's husband donated a little more, 2,000. It was also because he got promoted last year, and everyone donated this amount, and it would be bad if he donated less. Because my cousin's husband donated a lot, his family tacitly agreed not to donate more. I didn't expect that Lin's mother, who usually had a lot of problems, would donate so much at once, and her image suddenly became taller. That's really inherited from you, auntie. Wu Yusen certainly wouldn't let the atmosphere get dull, and immediately took over. Lin Fan donated all the money at that time, setting an example for our company. We felt embarrassed if we donated less, and everyone followed her example. Such a noble character, it turns out to come from you, auntie. It's true that women are as good as men. Lin's mother held her neck high, like a proud rooster. Of course, I was also an advanced member back then, and the factory even held a commendation meeting for me. How can I just stand by and watch such a good thing for the country and the people? If my family wasn't so poor, I would have donated even more. Father Lin was silent. His family was rich. The comparison with his wife and daughter made him seem less conscious. How about donating more later? The atmosphere became lively again, and even Antonio got involved. As Lin Fan wished, the topic of salary was moved away. After chatting for a while, it was time for dinner, and Mother Lin wanted to take everyone to a restaurant. Originally, it was okay to entertain the aunt and Zioen at the same time, and have a home-cooked meal. But when John Woo came, he always felt that eating at home was too unfair to him. The aunt and cousin-in-law were also willing to go out to eat, and they treated them as a thank you. But John Woo didn't want to make a big effort, so he wanted to eat at home. He threw out a basket of good words and immediately convinced the stubborn Mother Lin. The aunt naturally followed the host's wishes and waited for another opportunity in the future. After dinner, they sat for a while, and then the aunt and her family said goodbye. They came by car, and they brought their children with them. If they left too late, it would be dark when they returned, and it would be unsafe on the road. After seeing off the aunt and her family, Lin's mother was ready to compare Zioen and Zio Woo, but Lin Fan didn't let her. She took them out shopping. Where do you live? Wu Yusen's hands were empty, and he didn't even bring a bag. It was not like his style. It's the hotel at the entrance of the community. I'll check in and go to your house after I put my things away. Wu Yusen gathered his coat, which was not as warm as a down jacket. Lin Fan saw his little action and laughed. You are not usually like this. I'm not used to you suddenly dressing like a decent person. Wu Yusen usually has a casual style, and his clothes are considered to be in line with the trend, but they are basically practical. In this winter, wearing a windbreaker instead of a cotton jacket is good looking, but it's cold. The cold in the south is a magic attack. The cold air with moisture is drilling into the bones. It's my mom. She wants to dress me up as a male model. I can't refuse. Wu Yusen shrugged. When he was young, he was not without conceit. He didn't wear long johns or thick cotton padded jackets. He thought it was cool and domineering. Later, as he got older, he realized that good looking or not has little to do with how much you wear. Like Lin Fan, when he became smaller last year, he almost looked like a bull in his clothes, but didn't he still look good? He has long passed the age of being flashy. As he gets older, his temperament has settled down, and he doesn't care so much about external beauty. Unexpectedly, at this age, he still wants to show that he prefers style to temperature. His mother certainly didn't expect that he would wear a coat with a runny nose. Hahaha, male model? Lin Fan ran a few steps away and looked back. Don't tell me, it really means that. Wu Yusen was not annoyed. He immediately pretended to walk a few steps on the catwalk and posed in a few frozen poses. He looked so coquettish. Antonio didn't know what they were laughing at and was confused. What's wrong with being a male model? I was a male model too. As he said that, he also wanted to take a few steps. No, no, no. Lin Fan grabbed him. You are fine like this. Don't make any trouble. Don't make any trouble. Wu Yusen saw that Antonio was wearing Lin Fan's hat and pretended to mention it casually. After knowing that Antonio was almost surrounded by people, he smiled and said nothing. Antonio told him all the way where Lin Fan took him to play and what delicious food they had eaten in the past 2 days, like a heartless child showing off. Wu Yusen smiled at the corners of his mouth, just listening and not saying anything. This red-haired guy, he can't even say it well, but he wants to cause trouble. Since he is here, let Wu Jet teach him a lesson. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 668 Threesome. Antonio is very independent, as can be seen from the fact that he traveled in each country for several months last year and got along well. But the higher-ups issued a task to let Antonio appreciate the spring festival culture and deeply experience the beauty of each country. So Lin Fan has been conscientiously acting as a guide, trying to take Antonio around. But Lin Fan doesn't come to Gao City often. The places she knows to play are the big shopping mall in the city center and the tourist resort where she took Antonio yesterday. How unfamiliar are they? She took a taxi to the mall and used her mobile phone to check the route to the resort and found a direct bus. She is not much better than Antonio, a foreigner. So don't look at Lin Fan's calm face. In fact, she doesn't know where to go next. After all, she has already visited the only 2 places she knows to stroll in the past 2 days. She is not an active person, and she is not good at using her mobile phone. It is more difficult for her to be a tour guide than to ask her to fight with others. But after John Woo came, she didn't have to worry about it. With Wu almighty butler Yusen around, Lin Fan is the one who is taken care of and doesn't have to worry about anything. Antonio found that after Wu Yusen came, Lin Fan changed from a leader to an accompanying person. Before, Lin Fan took him shopping, took him on the bus, and took him to take a taxi, but now Wu Yusen has become the implementer of all this. Lin Fan does almost nothing, except talking to him from time to time. At first glance, it is hard to tell who is the local. Antonio is the one taken care of by Lin Fan, and Wu Yusen is the one who takes care of them. So, the gap widened. Antonio's little show-off just now is not even considered a younger brother in front of this tacit trust. Wu Yusen didn't make any targeted moves, and he felt that he had lost. Antonio didn't want to admit defeat, but in this situation, there seemed to be no possibility of a comeback. Oh my, this damn desire to win. Antonio, who was originally in a relaxed state, suddenly wanted to fight. It doesn't matter what he fights for, he doesn't want to lose anyway. It's getting late now. We have to go back for dinner tonight. Let's go to the movies. We can go shopping when we have time. John Woo searched on his phone. There was really nothing fun in Gaoshi. 3 hours was just right for a movie. Lin Fan had no objection and asked enthusiastically what movies were available. Antonio was not a childish person. Although he wanted to compete with John Woo, he would not make a fuss. He was happier than anyone else when he was having fun, so he naturally would not refute his normal proposal. There were quite a lot of movies released. Lin Fan thought that due to the impact of the Grow War, the film industry would be relatively sluggish this year. As a result, there were more than 20 movies scheduled, all kinds of G-type movies. It was the first time she saw them. I know this. Antonio moved forward from the backseat of the taxi. He was afraid that the driver would not listen well, so he spoke in P language. Because many places don't have the conditions to release movies, they all send these resources to H country. After all, H country is not affected, and they can make a lot of money. Lin Fan understood. Some places have applied for relief, and the tents have not been removed yet, and they are still talking about the entertainment industry. But the money spent on the previously made movies was obviously a huge loss if they were not released. H country was not affected, as it had a lot of money and people. Everyone decided to send all the movies and TV series that could be released to H country under the slogan of alliance and mutual assistance. Even the copyright fees that were previously important were waived, and the box office was divided equally. H country had no objection, so there was a blowout of New Year's films. It naturally had a significant impact on H country's film and television industry, but from the perspective of the overall economy, industry prospects and consumers, it was a great thing. Only a fool would disagree to share half of the box office without spending a penny. Who can complain about having too much money? Consumers are even happier because they don't have to pick out the best from the garbage, and they should force themselves to lower their aesthetic standards. Moreover, from a long-term perspective, the influx of a large number of high-quality films will inevitably have an impact on the mainland entertainment industry. In order to seize the market, it is necessary to compete with better films and actors, which will in turn create a virtuous circle. Just like the catfish in the sardine can, it is indeed bad at the beginning, but it is an incentive for the inert market. Anyway, no matter what, those who want to watch movies this year are blessed. Lin Fan looked at the movie catalog and felt that he didn't have to worry about where to go for the next few days. He could stay in the cinema for a few days. In order to cater to the atmosphere of the new year, Lin Fan and Antonio discussed and chose a foreign G cartoon comedy, which is suitable for both the elite and the masses. John Woo didn't express his opinion. He didn't care what he watched, as long as the two important people were around. When they arrived at the mall, John Woo took the lead and took the two of them directly to the 5th floor. They found the cinema without any effort, got the tickets, and went to buy popcorn sets. Antonio saw his skilled movements and couldn't hide his curiosity. Have you been here before? No, it's my first time. John Woo knew what he wanted to ask and replied with a slight smile, but didn't continue to explain and handed him the large bucket of popcorn and coke on the counter. He did come to Gao to pick up Lin Fan last year, but he just passed by and had never been to this mall. However, seeing the address from the ticket purchasing software and determining the location at a glance on the mall sign, it was not a difficult task for him. Antonio was holding a lot of things in his hands, feeling like he had lost again. The environment was not good for him. Lin Fan didn't know what Antonio was thinking and was browsing the large posters in the display area. How about we watch another one tonight? She held her coke and asked the two for their opinions. Okay, but will auntie have any objections? John Woo stood behind her holding a large bucket of popcorn and his drink. Looking at the big fur ball, he really wanted to rub it. Why would auntie have any objections? Antonio stood on the other side of Lin Fan and asked in confusion. I don't think so. Lin Fan sucked on the straw. We also went out to watch a movie at night 2 years ago, and my mother didn't say anything. It doesn't matter if she doesn't make a fuss every day. It's normal. The cartoons are very good. In the big theater, watching with many people, it's very lively. When everyone laughs, the joy will affect you. Even if you don't think it's that funny, you will laugh with everyone. Of course, it would be better if some of the naughty children were not shouting and running around in front of the screen. After watching the movie, they still had some time, so they strolled around the mall. John Woo took a fancy to a navy blue woolen hat, and after trying it on, he hesitated whether to buy it. Without saying a word, Lin Fan went to the cashier to settle the bill for him. The three of them each had a woolen hat, all of which were neatly tied, and they attracted attention wherever they went. Antonio looked at the reflections of the three people in the mirror and suddenly found that the color of John Woo's hat was more harmonious with Lin Fan's blue and purple jacquard hat, like a low-key couple's color combination. His own black hat looked like an outsider next to him. He seemed to have lost another move. Hey. Hahaha, I ked someone without realizing it. I don't know if I wrote out the funny points. Chapter 669 Transformation. Lin Fan didn't notice the two people's wit. She was thinking about what to say when she got back so that Lin's mother would let her go without causing trouble. After thinking about it, it would be better to let Wu Yusen and the others bring it up. They are guests, and Lin's mother will not easily offend guests on these small matters. Antonio took the task very enthusiastically, saying that his reputation as a foreign friend would definitely be more useful. But in his heart, he secretly wanted to turn the tables. He had lost so many times in a row, he had to get some performance. So the first thing Antonio did when he got home was to tell Lin's mother that he would continue to go out with Lin Fan in the evening. Of course, Lin's mother agreed. But she knew that when the three of them were together, her eyes were inevitably erratic. How can you talk about feelings when you go out with two people? Isn't this what is called Field? At the dinner table, Antonio was extremely attentive, helping Lin Fan pick up dishes and pour drinks, and taking good care of him. He was so considerate that Lin's father didn't even drink the wine, holding the glass and looking sideways. It seems like something is really going on. John Woo was calm and continued to eat his own food while not forgetting to chat with the old couple. He didn't care about Antonio's jumping around at all. Lin's mother watched a lot of TV dramas, and she immediately fit into the image of a calm eldest wife and a young lover vying for favor. She looked at Lin Fan with increasing disgust. Antonio knew how much Lin Fan ate. She was calm at home these days, but ate a lot outside, so he was not afraid that she couldn't eat. Lin Fan thanked him at first, and then tried to dissuade him. It was not easy for Antonio to understand that a no was different from the no that Lin's father said when drinking. At this time, the dishes in the bowl had piled up to his chin. I don't know how he piled it up, but it didn't fall over. Lin Fan made a TSK sound and was a little overwhelmed by Antonio's sudden enthusiasm. He sighed and looked up inadvertently and saw that when Lin's mother looked at him, she was condemning him as a scumbag. Lin Fan was shocked. She was sitting at the table eating peacefully, not even saying a few words. How come? Then she thought of the people on both sides. Never mind, let her think whatever she wants. She wouldn't believe it, even if I told her, as long as there was no quarrel. Lin Fan lowered his head, pretending that he saw nothing, and ate the food in the bowl. But Lin's mother thought that she was guilty and wondered whether she should find a chance to talk to her. It's not good to keep two people hanging around like this. But then again, two such outstanding men are interested in her girl. That's pretty awesome. Isn't it all thanks to her good training in the past? Lin's mother overflowed with a hint of pride in her heart, which unconsciously showed at the corner of her mouth. But there can only be one person, and I'll talk about Lin Fan later. Girls, you should be single-minded in your feelings. After dinner, under Lin's mother's happy and complicated gaze, the three continued to go to the mall to kill time. This time, Antonio was the first to call a taxi. He raised his eyebrows to John Woo provocatively, but John Woo only smiled and said thank you. Antonio felt as if he had punched cotton, and his happiness immediately disappeared. When they arrived, Wu Yusen took advantage of the convenience of the co-pilot seat and quickly scanned the code to pay. Antonio couldn't help but feel annoyed, and Lin Fan saw the clues. You two, what's going on? I thought Antonio had become strange before, but it was not, until now that I was sure that this matter was related to Wu Yusen. Nothing. He wants to learn from me how to treat people. The two spoke at the same time. Wu Yusen was still smiling calmly, and Antonio was a little anxious. Lin Fan looked at this and that, and knew that it was definitely not like what they said. At this moment, everything was under her nose, and there must be no obvious contradictions. As for the little problems in private, they are adults in their 30s. Since they are hiding it from her, they must have their own ways to solve it. She is not the character of a caring sister, so she just pretends not to know, and lets them handle it themselves. Thinking so, she praised him casually. John Woo is very good at treating people. John Woo's treatment of people is more than good. As long as they are normal people, especially strangers or people on a mission, his thoughtfulness is like engraved in his bones, and there is nothing wrong with it. Lin Fan thought he had lowered his evaluation of John Woo and took Antonio's position into consideration. But Antonio didn't know that when he saw Lin Fan praising him, The idea of not admitting defeat in his heart became even stronger. At this time, Antonio's feelings for Lin Fan had not yet risen to the level of love between men and women, but he was simply aroused by the desire to win. Men's desire to win is sometimes very strange. They don't ask for reasons, but only want results. From childhood to see who can pee farther, to all kinds of things, when they grow up, they want to compete in everything. It's not limited to acquaintances or strangers. Okay, let's go to the movies quickly, we are running out of time. Seeing that Antonio was not happy, Lin Fan gave John Woo a look without showing his expression, and took the initiative to pull his arm in. This is not an ordinary foreign friend. Although it is impossible to transform on impulse, it is better to try not to provoke him as much as possible. Antonio saw Lin Fan took the initiative to hold his arm and leave Wu Yusen behind, and felt that he had won back around. He turned back proudly and raised his eyebrows at Wu Yusen, who put his hands in his pockets. Wu Yusen walked slowly and followed behind the two of them, and suddenly he didn't want to compete anymore. The emotional intelligence was not equal, and it felt like bullying a child. The more important thing was that it was not good to cause Antonio's mood swings, and it would easily cause trouble for Lin Fan. In this way, Antonio smoothly got the tickets, bought popcorn and soda, and took care of Lin Fan as well as possible. Wu Yusen seemed to have no room to intervene. After seeing that he won everywhere, Antonio was happy for a long time, but suddenly felt that it was quite boring. He had a good feeling about Wu Yusen, especially after he surpassed him in everything. He still smiled at him gently. On the contrary, his previous performance was a little inferior. So, Antonio, who didn't know what he was thinking, reconciled with Wu Yusen again. The two shook hands and hugged. It seemed that the previous unhappiness was all Lin Fan's illusion. Men's friendship. Oh, I don't understand. Lin Fan watched the two of them chat in silence and ran to the side to order milk tea. Are you going to watch a movie tomorrow? Lin Fan asked as the three of them walked out with milk tea. There are a lot of movies, but it's not appropriate to watch them from morning to night for a few days. My butt is numb. Let's go to that ecological tourism area tomorrow. Antonio replied with a smile. The one I took you to? Lin Fan was surprised. Didn't we go there yesterday? Yes, but Wu didn't go there. Antonio looked at Wu Yusen with a bright smile and explained to Lin Fan. I said I would take him for a walk. It would be a pity if he missed such a beautiful scenery. Okay. Lin Fan looked at the two people who were smiling harmoniously, like brothers. Who would believe that the two had conflicts before the movie started? So when they returned to the Lin family, Lin's mother suddenly found that Zion, who had been very attentive to Lin Fan, suddenly became enthusiastic about Zio Wu, and Zio Fan was like a companion next to him. What's going on? Do young people's feelings change so quickly? A new month has begun. Chapter 670 Leaving Home. Lin's mother was confused by this sudden change. She was originally going to wait for Lin Fan to come back and reprimand her, but she gave up. Moreover, she never mentioned it again until the three of them left on the morning of the fifth day. Lin Fan didn't know that she had escaped. Although Lin's mother's eyes always showed something strange when she looked at Wu Yusen and Antonio, Lin Fan was very easy to satisfy when she didn't make a fuss. Antonio wanted to see the Lantern Festival before. After asking Lin's mother, she said that there was no Lantern Festival in Gaoshi and Yangcheng, but the nearby Su City would hold a large Lantern Festival this year. It would start on the 7th day and end on the 15th. After discussing with the two, Lin Fan decided to leave on the 5th day. Lin's father and mother had planned to keep them for a while, but Gaoshi is a small place after all. In the past few days, they have played everything they can. Even the famous scenic spot Lin Fan and Antonio have played twice. They have watched movies for 2 days, and there is really nothing to do outside. At home, there was nothing interesting on TV. We had almost finished eating the New Year dishes. It was the same over and over again. Lin's mother and father couldn't come up with anything new. Besides, what Lin Fan said made sense. After the 5th day of the first lunar month, we could play in Suzhou for 2 days. After watching the lanterns on the 7th night, we could go to work without taking another leave. Although Lin's mother was reluctant, she also knew that taking leave meant deducting wages, and deducting wages would mean less money. After a while, her reluctance was not so strong. In addition, the atmosphere between Xiao Wu and Xiaoan always made her feel weird these 2 days. She even asked her square dance partner, who said that in today's society, there would be super friendships between 2 men. She wanted to ask, but she felt she couldn't. On the one hand, she felt that her position was not enough, and on the other hand, she was afraid that the answer would be embarrassing. What if it wasn't the son-in-law, and she would offend the candidate? What if it was? It was better to turn a blind eye and let them do it themselves. Lin's father was also reluctant. But Lin's mother had been peaceful for so many days, and according to his experience, she probably couldn't hold it in for too long. The next outburst would definitely not be very pretty, whether for the sake of face or substance. It would be better to let the children go. Besides, Xiaofan left early in the past few years, and it was already very good that he could stay for a week this year. It's not easy for a child to have a good job. As a parent, if you can't help the child, you can't delay her, right? Just like that, Lin Fan originally thought that he would have to fight for it, but it was unexpectedly smooth. The night before, the old couple prepared a lot of local specialties for Lin Fan. Lin Fan said that he couldn't take it away and didn't want to disappoint him, so he simply found Lin's father's empty wine box and filled it up. The next morning, after the 3 of them had breakfast, before going to the train station, Lin's father drove the 3 of them to the express station to send a package. This time, Lin's mother sent them downstairs and waved outside until the car door closed. Looking at the 3 faces in the rear window, her eyes turned red. Wu Yusen smiled in the car and waved slightly to Lin's mother, asking her not to see him off. Antonio was even more outrageous. Half of his body leaned out and waved desperately, saying goodbye loudly to Lin's mother in a strange colloquial language. Lin Fan was a little sad at first, but after Antonio's commotion, her sadness was gone. Before the car turned a corner, she couldn't help but glance out the rear window. Lin's mother was wearing a bright red sweater and was still standing at the entrance of the corridor. Her small figure was like a sculpture, motionless. She felt a little sad again. Lin's mother was doing well this year, if only she could stay like this, she thought. The express delivery station was not far away, just outside the community, a 5-minute drive away. Even during the Chinese New Year, the express delivery station was always busy without a break. Looking at the various express deliveries piled on the ground, the first wave of goods in the morning had already been delivered. Wu Yusen went in with a cardboard box, took out his mobile phone, and completed the delivery in a few seconds. If it were Lin Fan, he would probably have asked for a handwritten face-to-face order. Antonio had never seen the express delivery station work, so he followed excitedly in to visit. Lin Fan stopped her father, who wanted to get off the car, and started talking to him. She told him that this year's living expenses would be paid after the salary was paid in a few days. She forgot to pay for living expenses when she donated the money, and it was too late when she remembered it. The higher-ups did transfer money to her card, but it was public funds for entertaining Antonio, and Lin Fan did not dare to withdraw it at will. Instead of borrowing money from others, it is better to wait for the salary to arrive next month. The salaries for January and February will be paid together, so there should be a lot. No, I still have money. I never had the chance to use the money you gave me before. Lin's father waved his hand quickly. He hid the money Lin Fan gave him in the past 2 years, and he really didn't have the opportunity to use it on a daily basis. But the money has been donated. You should keep more on hand, and don't worry about your family. The family only buys food and eats, and doesn't need much money. Lin's father's fat face was smiling, like a Maitreya Buddha. He originally wanted to donate money again, to raise his backward ideology. After all, as the head of the family, sometimes his status can still be stabilized. After knowing the real amount of Lin Fan's donation, he never mentioned it again. Lin's father is not like Lin's mother. After knowing that Lin Fan's salary has been rising again and again, although he was surprised, he was more happy and worried. He was happy that his daughter had strong working ability and made contributions to the G family. He was worried that with such a high salary, it might not be a simple job. He asked Lin Fan about her job content, and she gave the same excuse as before. He didn't ask again, but repeatedly reminded his daughter to pay attention to safety and health. It's okay, it doesn't matter, Lin Fan replied with a smile. The care from her family made her feel comfortable. She patted the cigarette ash on Lin's father's shoulder and continued. As for you, you should spend the money, don't save it. Just be careful not to be cheated by scammers. I downloaded the anti-fraud app on your mobile phone. Pay attention to the prompts when answering calls and reading text messages. Yeah. Lin's father nodded. And don't forget the physical examinations arranged for you. Especially tell your mother that the money has been paid and tell her not to save money and not do some projects. Lin Fan continued to remind. Don't worry, I will definitely keep an eye on her. Lin's father smiled innocently. Last year, Lin's mother did the same thing, and the final report did not include all the items. When Lin Fan asked about it, she said that she had asked about the medical examination package, which was expensive. She thought that the expensive examinations were good and wanted to get the money back. Anyway, she knew her own body, and there was nothing serious. Later, when she found out that the money could not be refunded, she went to force the staff to do it again. After getting the report, she even called to scold Lin Fan for wasting money. Wouldn't it be better to give her the money directly? Look, there is no problem with the report, right? Lin Fan didn't know what to say. Giving parents a medical examination every year is a benefit of the special office. Last year, I don't know if a level was promoted or what happened, but the institute changed the medical examination place and package for the two elders. She asked about it and was told that it was better than before, so she didn't think much about it and only informed her parents of the time and place. In this matter, except for the fact that the two elders' reports would be shown to her at the end, she almost didn't participate and was scolded for nothing. But let them scold her, she is used to it. The good health of the two elders is more important than anything else. So this time, I specially reminded Lin's father not to do it again. While the two were talking, Wu Yusen's express delivery was also sent. They got on the car and drove all the way to the train station. Now there are no platform tickets. Lin's father can't get in, so he watched the three people check their tickets and go up the stairs. After Lin Fan reached the second floor, she walked to the glass wall to watch. Lin's father was standing on tiptoe outside the square to see them clearly, but in the end, because of the material, he could only see a large crowd of people, but couldn't see clearly, so he gave up. Looking at Lin's father's back with a drooping face, Lin Fan felt a little uncomfortable. She still doesn't like parting every time. Hey, Lin, if you are sad, my arms will always be open to you. Antonio's voice sounded behind her. She looked back and saw that the red-haired foreigner was spreading his arms and looking at her with a smile. Come on, come into my strong arms. The people around them hadn't noticed them at first, but when this strange voice came out, countless eyes gathered here. Antonio didn't feel anything because his back was facing away, but she was facing the front, being stared at by so many people. Lin Fan covered her face. This was probably what it felt like to be socially dead. However, the discomfort seemed to have disappeared. She chuckled and walked over to pat Antonio's long arms. Trust me, you won't want to look back. Chapter 671 Jin Sichin returns. Antonio turned around and looked even more socially dead than Lin Fan. He quickly shrank his body and hid behind Lin Fan and John Woo, covering his face and pretending that no one could see him. John Woo also found it funny, looked around casually, and took the two to a less conspicuous corner. The waiting room of Kaohsiung railway station was newly built and quite large. The crowd of onlookers could not follow the three of them all the time, so they soon stopped paying attention and started playing with their phones. Antonio covered his face with his sleeves, leaving only a pair of eyes exposed, and looked around. He was relieved to find that no one was staring at him. Didn't they say that you outsiders don't care about other people's eyes? Lin Fan asked with a smile. I don't care. If it was just an ordinary look or an admiring or adoring look, I wouldn't be like this, right? Antonio stepped back and whispered behind Lin Fan's ear, but they look at me like a monkey who would be happy. Antonio had been to many places, but he had never been to a small city like Kaohsiung. Lin Fan had just experienced the warm gazes, and it was indeed too much for him. Antonio was cheerful, but he was not a social bull. People who were not thick-skinned could hardly stand the spotlight. When he got on the train and checked his ticket, Antonio did not dare to put down his hands covering his face. In order to lower his height, he kept hunching over, timidly looking left and right, and even called the security guard, causing another misunderstanding. Fortunately, there were not many people waiting for the train on the platform. Everyone was queuing in front of the door, looking at each other from a distance, and Antonio, who turned his back, was not so socially anxious. After getting on the train, it was better. After arriving in Sioux City, he was completely relaxed. Sioux City has a developed economy and tourism, and there are many foreigners. When there are so many people, he is not special. Lin Fan came to Sioux City on a business trip to meet clients a few years ago when he was working. He left in a hurry after the meeting and did not have time to travel. It was the same as not having been here. Antonio, on the other hand, came to Sioux City for a tour after leaving Gao last year. He knew better than Lin Fan, a native of the country, where there were delicious foods and fun places. He was the tour guide, taking Lin Fan and John Woo to eat, drink and have fun all the way. With public funds to support them, and no time limit, the three of them had a great time. Happy times always pass quickly. After visiting all the big and small attractions in Suzhou, and tasting all the delicious food, the Spring Festival was officially over. The three of them took the high-speed rail back to the Special Affairs office, and caught up with the hot dumplings in the cafeteria. Antonio was recruited to Sioux City by OV after only a few days. He didn't really want to go, but OV seemed to have something important to do, and as a P countryman, it would be inappropriate not to go. So he reluctantly said goodbye to Lin Fan and the others. This time, Lin Fan was not too sad. It was mainly because she knew that when the UFO arrived soon, Apollo would definitely be on the front line like her. But she couldn't help sighing when she thought of her relationship with Antonio. He acted as if he was really here to make friends. But Lin Fan didn't dare to believe it, at least not completely. She always maintained a layer of alertness in her heart, but pretended to be calm on the surface. It was actually quite tiring for her. After Antonio left, she was truly relieved and felt relaxed. Antonio should still be a martial law officer in the Special Affairs office. After he left, more people walked around in the office, and there were no longer just a few people eating in the cafeteria. Wang Fengfeng finally waited for the opportunity to gossip with Lin Fan, but before he could chat with Lin Fan for a few words, Jin Sichin arrived. "I knew you were in the cafeteria again," Jin Sichin said in a tone of not expecting anything, and changed his sunglasses. "When did you come back?" Lin Fan was overjoyed, and he didn't eat the food on his chopsticks, and threw it back into the bowl. "Just arrived." Jin Sichin still looked fair and tender, and judging from her expression, she was doing well in this year. "Have you eaten?" Wu Yusen asked. "No." Jin Sichin glanced at the table, found what he wanted to eat, and brought it directly to him without being polite. "It's still better to eat with you guys. God has mercy on you." Wang Fengfeng sighed with pity, the one who was oppressed by the ugly woman. "Did the ugly woman bully you?" Lin Fan asked. Jin Sichin didn't say anything, and ate half a bowl before looking up. "That depends on what the definition of bullying is. If it's a bad attitude, then she's usually like that. But this Spring Festival experience may make her very happy. Recently, her attitude is very pleasant. At least I feel more comfortable. So she likes excitement?" Lin Fan thought about the ugly woman's appearance. She was always cold, kept strangers away, and cursed at everyone she saw. She actually liked excitement. Humans are social animals. As long as there is no problem with mental health, it is normal to like social contact and excitement. Jin Sichin replied, "After this time, I seem to have found a way to resolve the ugly woman's defense." He came back this time, on the one hand, to end the matter of accompanying the ugly woman. During the New Year's Day, the ugly woman had experienced everything that should be given to her. If she stayed there and didn't come up with anything new, it would have a counterproductive effect. Besides, distance creates beauty. When he was away, the clown girl might occasionally think of him. He was in front of her every day, and she had no new things to do, so she would get bored. Another reason was that in response to the mood change of the clown girl during the spring festival, he had a new idea and was ready to come back to sort it out and make a complete and systematic plan. At the same time, he had to summarize the previous situation and report it. Of course, he couldn't forget Lin Fan's situation. So he went to find Lin Fan. As soon as he came back, just when they met, he felt that she had recovered very well. The few people ate and talked, mainly Lin Fan and Wang Fengfeng. Jin Sichen occasionally interrupted, and Wu Yusen basically didn't say anything. After Jin Sichen asked everything he wanted to know, he didn't wait for Lin Fan, and went back to rest. But he asked Lin Fan to come to his office, to chat in the evening. This chat was not like the casual chat just now, but a formal psychological relief. Lin Fan didn't think about those not so good scenes recently, but just in case, he still had to let Jin Sichen see it. After the chat, Jin Sichen believed that Lin Fan's self-recovery was very successful. Of course, this is inseparable from her own adjustment and efforts, as well as Antonio who accidentally hit her, and Wu Yusen's company and play. Especially the appearance of Antonio. She has been busy suppressing her defenses in her heart and pretending to be defenseless. The brain that can't do two things at the same time just throws some of the previous distracting thoughts aside. In addition, the three of them traveled together in the later period, and they were really happy when they were happy. The natural scenery, the cultural landscape. Anyway, in this way, the hidden dangers were almost doused. So that when Lin Fan thinks of the past now, the ups and downs in his heart are no longer surging. Lin Fan thought of Antonio's role in this matter, and his face was strange. I didn't expect Antonio to play such a big role by accident, and my intentions were not pure. Although I know this is necessary, kind people still feel guilty. Forget it, be nicer to him in the future. Lin Fan is now a mature emotional releaser, and he won't be too stubborn and embarrass himself. Jin Sichen asked Lin Fan to talk again in 2 days. If there is no accident, this stress disorder can basically be completely resolved. Lin Fan went out happily, feeling healthy again. Jin Sichen did not rest, but sat in front of the computer to write a report. Whether it was the situation of the ugly woman or Lin Fan's mental state, they were all the focus of attention, and dared not delay. It seemed that today would be another sleepless night. He started the coffee machine, and in the rich aroma of coffee, his index finger flew, and he wrote furiously. Chapter 672 Departure 800. Most countries in the Alliance don't have the Spring Festival. But Country H wants to have a holiday, and it's legitimate. No one can stop them from taking a break. People with a good mentality can just take a break. Those who have something to do can go back to their own territory and continue to work. In short, at the beginning of the first year of the establishment of the Alliance, it was planned to take a 7-day holiday because of the Spring Festival holiday. Later, the repairs that needed to be repaired were completed, and the construction that needed to be built was completed. There was not much to be busy, so the Alliance members just took a holiday together. The Spring Festival holiday became the first default holiday of the Alliance. People all over the world took a break, had fun, and traveled everywhere. Of course, this is a later story. The Special Affairs Office has a particularly long holiday this year, probably to compensate for the special contributions of the members of the office. The working day is after the 15th. However, ordinary people don't have such a generous holiday as the Special Affairs Office, and they start working early on the 7th. While Lin Fan and the other two were having fun in Sioux City, the Alliance held meetings one after another, and I don't know how many plans were discussed. As the head of the Special Affairs Office, ZHU Kunjin must attend such large meetings that will produce important decisions. I have been busy since the 7th day of the first lunar month, and I'm more tired than the chef in the cafeteria. The plan for UFOs has been basically determined, and OV called Antonio back to deploy it at this time. Xingchen naturally has a plan, but it was suppressed by ZHU Kunjin because of Lin Fan's injuries and psychological condition. Now, Jin Sichen came back and said that Lin Fan was fine. ZHU Kunjin was happy and unhappy. But Lin Fan is a soldier after all, and her road is destined to not stop. The next day, Lin Fan received instructions for a physical examination. After a day of busy work from head to toe, the results were reported, and all indicators were normal. When standing in ZHU Kunjan's office again, Lin Fan had basically guessed what he would say. After all, when I went to 800 before the new year, I had already seen the extract of 818. The upgrade of Xingqian was put on the agenda after Grow left. Originally, I wanted to wait a few more months and let you recuperate, but this thing in the sky didn't let me do what I wanted. ZHU Kunjan smiled and spoke while sitting at his desk, and fatigue was faintly visible in his expression. It's okay, it's just a matter of time. Lin Fan held a thick red envelope for the beginning of the year in her hand and comforted the director. She was more open-minded. Upgrading is definitely risky, but isn't this because the aliens don't give time? If it drags on, when they arrive at the door, what if there is another fierce round? If the upgrade is completed, it can increase the combat effectiveness, which is a good thing for both Land Crossing and her. She is also quite fond of Apollo's shoulder cannon, and she doesn't know if she can get it this time. In addition, she is also a little concerned about the fact that Antonio does not need a lot of energy replenishment on a daily basis. Although she can't get fat by eating, it takes an hour or so to eat just to maintain energy. Doing this every day is actually quite tiring. What can't you do with that time? Now everyone in the Special Affairs office knows that she can eat the most. Although there is no malice, she still cares a little bit sometimes. After all, she is a girl. If there is no change after the upgrade, then there is no change. At least no one has to worry about it anymore. When ZHU Kunjan contacted 800 about the relevant matters, Jin Sichin also gave Lin Fan a second psychological counseling to confirm that the situation was stable. ZHU Kunjan then determined the departure time. The time was set for the next day, and it seemed that there was an inexplicable sense of urgency. This time, it was still a special plane, and Wu Yusen and Jin Sichin accompanied them. Wu Yusen finally got his wish, and could go to 800 with Lin Fan to face the evolution of the stars. But he didn't expect Jin Sichin to go with him. I thought you were going to stay in the institute, to continue the plan, to attack the ugly woman. The few people close to them knew about Jin Sichin's plan. They thought that Lin Fan's condition was stable, and Jin Sichin would focus on the ugly woman, but they didn't expect him to accompany him. Isn't this because you are worried that something will happen to Lin Fan during the evolution and affect his mental state? Jin Sichin was also repairing the plan on the plane. When he heard Wu Yusen speak, he stopped and looked up to reply him. It's not just me. Basically, everyone who can be used is on standby at 800. When the time comes, whoever you need will be on the scene at the first time. Given the current importance of Xingqian, it is not an exaggeration to mobilize the whole country's strength. If it weren't for the precautions against external forces, Country H could have brought in all the world's top talents. What could have happened? Lin Fan couldn't find the next target in the Lianliancan on her phone. She switched back to the desktop in annoyance and interrupted. The most serious thing before was just fainting, waking up in pain, etc. Psychologically, it seems to be okay. She herself didn't take the upgrade too seriously. After all, it wasn't the first time. And there was only a little bit left in 818. It's impossible for there to be any reversible changes, right? Compared to herself, she was more worried about Song Ren. I heard that he was not feeling well recently, and he began to feel depressed. During this period, Wu Yusen accompanied her to find many people in the institute, trying to find something similar to the legendary Black Jade intermittent cream. But everyone said that it was a magical medicine made up in novels, and was completely inconsistent with scientific common sense. It sounded weird when people from the Special Affairs Institute talked about science. She even went to Zioyao Mountain to find the senior brother. Unfortunately, the senior brother has many swords, but he really doesn't have this kind of thing that can revive the dead. The 1000-year-old master is a demon cultivator. When they fight, it's a matter of life and death. They are very fierce, and there is no magic weapon to use. Old Khan may have it, but he is lying down. Should I go to see Song Ren when 800 is reached? Or should I ask Jin Sichin to help? Jin Sichin is familiar with Song Ren, and said that it is okay, but it will wait until Lin Fan's matter is over. The most important thing in the world now is your case, and all other things will be put aside. Jin Sichin called up Song Ren's case from the system to browse. Besides, in his case, it is useless to counsel him without solving the root cause. Even if the result is not good, it will take time for him to accept it, and there is no point in rushing. Song Ren is in a state of resistance now, but it has not reached that level of psychological problems. If Jin Sichin goes, it will only be counseling. But he can't do anything about this matter. No matter how he counsels, it is only a temporary solution. It's not that Lin Fan didn't understand, she just felt distressed. How could Song Ren fall to that point? How can living water be useless? She muttered. It can't be said to be useless, it's just that the effect is not as good as you expected. Jin Sichin pointed out objectively, he is still doing well, at least he can regain some consciousness, and Mr. Kyan is still in the pool without opening his eyes. By the way, how is Mr. Kyan? Lin Fan asked. There have been a lot of things recently, and she didn't pay much attention to this big man, who usually has little presence. I don't know. Jin Sichin shook her head. There is no change in his appearance, but there is no sign of further deterioration. The ugly woman said that his deficit is too big and it can't be made up by something like living water in a short time. Living water can only make up for the deficit in his body, but he is not lacking in his body. At the beginning, the black hole was made, and you can imagine how huge the energy is with your toes. Lin Fan can still rely on eating and drinking to replenish his energy when he lacks energy, but Mr. Kyan obviously can't use this method. Lin Fan frowned slightly, and his face was worried again. Don't worry about it. Jin Sichin knew she was worried again when he saw her like that. This level of problem is not something we can solve. Worrying will only increase your psychological burden, which is meaningless. The good news is that Mr. Kyan's body, which was on the verge of collapse, has at least been saved by the running water. As for the future, we can take it slow. Lin Fan knew that what he said was right. Instead of wasting her emotions on these helpless things, she might as well focus on the present and solve the upgraded problems as soon as possible. After her ability is improved, maybe she can find a better solution. She looked at the white clouds outside the window, touched the thin black bracelet on her wrist, and made up her mind. Chapter 673 New Badge. 800 There were more people waiting than Lin Fan had imagined. People he knew, and people he didn't know, a huge crowd. Not to mention that all the members of 623 were present. A lot of doctors in the medical department were also on standby. Cui Yan and Sen Fangyuan were standing together. When they saw Lin Fan coming, they stopped talking at the same time. Comrade Xianlin, I'm here to see you on behalf of the old man. Sen Fangyuan walked up and shook hands with Lin Fan in a very official manner. Cui Yan still had a cold expression, but Lin Fan was used to him. He quickly looked at Lin Fan, his eyes softened a lot, and then he stayed on the red badge on Lin Fan's chest, took a new jewelry box from the secretary, and handed it to her. Your new badge, he said coldly when he saw Lin Fan took it. You don't need to hide your identity now. Lin Fan opened it and saw that the appearance of the new badge remained the same, but the base color was no longer bright red, but dark red, like solidified and dried blood. She felt it for a while, and her emotions did not change significantly, so she took the badge in her hand. It was a little heavy. The edge of the badge is a circle of raised wheat ears or some unnamed flowers connected into a ring, which is much more delicate than the previous thin ring. The concave part in the middle is a slightly convex blue star pattern, on which the continental terrain texture is carefully sculpted. Just above the blue star, the dark red background is decorated with 3 red gems, which are crystal clear and large, very conspicuous. In different light and angles, you can see the dark red background flashing with fine metallic colors, including gold, silver, red, and green. Lin Fan couldn't tell for a moment. Anyway, it was a colorful dark red. This was made from a core component of Grow Before, and the red embellishment is the energy core of the spacecraft. We think it's the most suitable for making your new badge. Seeing that she looked carefully, Sen Fangyuan took the initiative to explain. Lin Fan is now an admiral. Although the official commendation meeting has not yet been held, at least within 800, there is no need to hide it anymore. The general public doesn't know, but the Internal Special Affairs Office, 800 and other institutions, as well as some senior executives, have long known that Lin Fan is Xingqian. changing the badges, on the one hand, a formal procedure of 800, and on the other hand, another form of recognition for Lin Fan. This badge is another form of military medal. It clearly affirms Lin Fan's efforts, so that everyone can see it. In fact, not only Lin Fan, but also other people who participated in the Grow battle have Medal of Honor or commemorative medal made of alien materials. Lin Fan was stunned. Grow. It seems very close, and yet it seems very far away. The badge is made of cold material. She held it in her palm, and rubbed it with her thumb, but it couldn't get any temperature on it. The cold touch seemed to remind her of those cold battles. Do you want to change it? Let everyone be happy with you? Seeing her stunned, Sen Fangyuan reminded gently, your colleagues have been looking forward to this moment for a long time. Lin Fan looked up, and saw that everyone in 623 was very excited. Lee Chun-hua was holding her mobile phone in her hand, waiting to take pictures. She smiled, changed the new badge neatly, and put the old one back in the box. What about this? All the data has been transferred to the new badge. You can keep the old one as a souvenir. Cui Yan replied, this badge was also special at the beginning. It can't be recycled, or put in the exhibition room. Then I'll keep it. Lin Fan was reluctant to part with it. When he heard this, he simply took it back. They didn't stay for long. They took Lin Fan in front of everyone, so that even those who were not familiar with him would recognize him as a serious person. Sen Fangyuan said some official words, and left with Cui Yan. The others were embarrassed. The people from 623 were not polite at all. They gathered around, and marveled at Lin Fan's new badge. Lee Chun-hua kept taking pictures, and asked Ji-yu to take a group photo for him. For a while, everyone started lining up for group photos, and it was very lively. Lin Fan couldn't count how many people she took pictures with, whether she knew them or not. Her face was frozen with laughter. Fortunately, the people from 800 had something to do. After taking the pictures, they didn't stay any longer and quickly returned to their jobs. In this way, it was 2 hours later that Lin Fan returned to the dormitory. Things were still the same, familiar as if they had never left. Jin Sichun and Wu Yusen still lived across from her. But Song Ren was no longer in the next room. Ji-yu and Gao Fei waited for a long time before coming out from next door to find Lin Fan. The three of them were specially arranged by Cui Yan to live with Lin Fan. Why are there only you? Where's Lee Chun-hua? Lin Fan was wiping here and there with a rag in the living room. He took the photos to show Captain Song. Ji-yu pulled out a chair next to the dining table and sat down. It really seemed like a long time since I was in the same room with Lin Fan like this. Lin Fan paused and laughed. It's indeed something he would do. How is Song Ren today? Still the same. Gao Fei also leaned back in the chair, crossed his legs and sighed. The effect was remarkable at the beginning. Now, the body's sense of touch has basically recovered, but I still can't move. The living water obviously has an effect, but the speed is not as fast as they originally expected. It's hard to bear to hope, and then be disappointed. Even though there is still a tiny glimmer of hope, Song Ren's bad mood has clearly erupted after the ups and downs. The more radiant a person is, the harder it is to accept a completely different life. Jin Sichun and Wu Yusen walked in, and sat on the sofa. The higher you stand, the harder you fall. Moreover, ordinary people may not be able to accept this situation easily. But it is effective after all, isn't it? Wu Yusen glanced at the teapot, and the hot water was boiled. He picked up the kettle, found the cups, and poured tea for everyone. Time is also a problem. If the time is too long, how can you be sure that the result after waiting is what you want? Jin Sichun shrugged. Time can wear away a lot of things, including hope. Lin Fan sighed after hearing this. He didn't want to move anymore, so he threw the rag into the sink, sat at the table, and held his chin with both hands, refusing to admit defeat. I don't believe that there is no way. In fact, the institute has also made a plan. Ji-yu lowered her eyes, and seeing Lin Fan was so worried, she decided to tell her. There is a group that has designed a full prosthetic skeleton specifically for Captain Song. After all, 800 is a high-tech organization. When encountering problems, they will naturally solve them from the areas they are best at. Song Ren is also a figure in 800. No one wants to see him lying in bed and wasting the rest of his life, so the exoskeleton project team discussed and came up with such a project plan. If successful, it will not only help Song Ren, but also help thousands of people with physical disabilities. This is a great thing. From Ji-Yu's narration, Lin Fan and the other two knew that they would use mechanical skeletons to support Song Ren's body so that he could stand up again and have the ability to move. Although it was different from their original intention, it was a solution when they had to. Lin Fan did not have much objection to using an external mecha to maintain body movement. After all, she herself was one with Xingqian, and to some extent, she was also an external mecha. She was more worried about technical difficulties. How is the completion? She looked at Ji-Yu's expression, and it didn't look like the research and development was successful. There is no big problem with the exoskeleton. After all, the technology is mature. Ji-Yu smiled helplessly. It's just that how to transmit the brain's instructions to the skeleton is still unsolved. I heard that they went to find information about the world tree, and I don't know if they can crack it. There are thousands of high-tech technologies in the world tree, and the premise is that they must be cracked first before they can be used. So, this is not an easy way. But it is always good to have more ways. Lin Fan felt relieved. If it doesn't work, let Jin Sichin and the ugly woman try to get close to each other. Chapter 674 New Mecha. Jin Sichin sneezed suddenly. The room was heated enough, and he didn't feel cold. Could it be that someone was thinking about him? Could it be that you caught a cold outside? Wu Yusen handed him hot water at the right time. He quickly held it in his hand, blew a few breaths, and drank it while it was hot. Li Chunhua came back soon, but the joy on his face was a little forced. Don't laugh if you don't want to laugh. Lin Fan looked at him, and it was uglier than crying. Li Chunhua scratched his head and sat next to Lin Fan. I can't come to see you with a sad face. I'm still happy to see you. What's wrong with you? Lin Fan asked. You must have been frustrated by Captain Song. Gao Fei replied. No, I was too noisy. Li Chunhua waved her hand, knowing that he needs to rest. You still use the photo to make trouble for him. Did he scold you? Lin Fan raised an eyebrow. Song Ren usually doesn't scold people unless he is a drag during training. It would be better if he scolded me. Li Chunhua smiled innocently, with some regret on her face. He just said nothing. I put the photo in front of him, but he didn't seem to see anything, and had no expression. That's what made me sad. Li Chunhua was happy to see Lin Fan coming. He thought Song Ren would be happy too, so he took the photo to show him, but Lin Fan pursed his lips tightly and exhaled a long breath from his nose. In this case, I'd better not go to see him. She was still hesitating whether to go, but seeing Li Chunhua like this, going would only make both of them sad, so forget it. Don't go. You still have an urgent task. Mood is very important. Li Chunhua immediately became nervous, pulled Lin Fan's arm, and solemnly warned, Dr. Jin, you should speak too. Jin Sichin felt warmed up after drinking a cup of hot water and turned to look over. Don't worry, Lin Fan knows the importance of things. She is not the same as before. Jin Sichin felt that Lin Fan was amazing enough to be able to relieve stress disorder by himself, even if there were some unexpected coincidences in the middle. Oh. Li Chunhua was really relieved after hearing Jin Sichin's words. Well, how about we go and do something happy? Although the stars need to be upgraded, it is not right away. 800 still needs to do some physical tests and data recording, evaluation and the like. Lin Fan's state of rushing is not stable. Conservatively estimated, it will take at least 2 or 3 days. What happy things are there now? Lin Fan was curious. The atmosphere in 800 has always been solemn. It is a scientific research. Even if everyone did not go home during the new year, it was not so lively. The special affairs office with lanterns and ribbons everywhere, red and green, and tacky decorations. You can't expect to see it in 800. Have you seen the new mecha? It's already made. It looks so beautiful. Li Chunhua was very excited when talking about mecha. Oh. Lin Fan remembered that the design and production of mechas were not that fast. It was still a design drawing years ago, and the data has not been confirmed. How long has it been completed? It's a model. Three 3D printed shell models have been assembled. The internal skeleton and system are not yet ready. Gu followed to explain. But it looks good. Lee Chun-hua said firmly, do you want to go and see it? Go and see it. It's a mecha that is completely different from Xingqian. In fact, Lin Fan had participated in the modification of the design drawings before and roughly knew what the new mecha looked like. But the transition from 2D to 3D is still different. It just so happens that she has time, so why not go and see it and live up to Lee Chun-hua's invitation. 6 people just fit in one car and soon entered the underground bunker. This is the first time for Wu Yusen to go underground, and he can't help but look around. Even though the special office has many high-tech applications, the underground bunker of 800 is completely different from the special office. Compared with a relatively leisurely and daily space, it feels more like a war preparedness space. After entering the gate of 623, the first thing that catches your eye is the 3D projection of Xingqian. Even though he was already familiar with it, John Woo had not seen a 1:1 scale projection model yet, and could not help but take a few more glances. Lee Chun-hua and the other two led them around a few corners, and the new mecha came into view. 2 assembled shells stood on one side, and another was being assembled. The parts were scattered, but it could be seen that it was in its infancy. Lin Fan was amazed at the hand speed of these researchers, and John Woo and Jin Sichen were inevitably shocked and stood there in shock. Mecha is the ultimate dream of men who love machinery. How is it? Lee Chun-hua proudly showed off. Isn't it beautiful? The new mecha has completely deviated from the appearance of Xingqian, and the color and appearance are different. Jin Sichen hadn't been here for a long time. He felt that the mecha in rose red and royal blue in front of him was particularly in line with his aesthetic taste, and couldn't help but walk forward a few steps. Can I take a closer look? Lin Fan saw that John Woo was also eager to move, and asked. Yes. Zhang Zhaoji's voice came from behind. He must have heard that Lin Fan had arrived and ran out. You can look at the assembled ones closer, but don't touch them. There is no skeleton inside, so they are not very solid. Wu Yusen couldn't help it. He walked a few steps closer, wishing that his eyes were embedded in it. Jin Sichen put his hands behind his back and slowly circled around the mecha. You are so fast. Lin Fan also walked forward a little and smiled at Zhang Zhaoji. These are all 3D printed models. The initial assembly is to check for unreasonable places in the external structure. Zhang Zhaoji's face was full of pride. These mechas are all his own sons. Wait until everything is confirmed, then start forging. The new materials are all obtained from Grow. It is not easy to forge them using traditional forging methods. I see. Lin Fan nodded, finally understood. It will take a long time to complete it, right? It will take at least half a year from manufacturing completion to debugging and perfection. Zhang Zhaoji put his hands in his pockets, looking at the love in Wu Yusen's eyes. He was even happier. The internal structure, circuit, power system, and Xingqian intelligence system are all new. Even if we work overtime, we can't compress them too much. What's more, smelting the material is also a big project. Lin Fan knew at the beginning that Grow's material was hard and not easy to penetrate. The armament department also thought that this batch of materials was good. But when it was really used, it was still tricky. Then I wish you success in advance. Lin Fan said to Zhang Zhaoji with a smile, and he thanked her repeatedly. What about the first generation and second generation mecha? She asked again. When 818 was extracted before, the shells of the first generation mecha were all dismantled. It's impossible that the old mecha was thrown away because a new mecha was developed. The pilots are all proficient in operating the system, and they don't change it like this. They are all here, but the shells have been remade with new materials and can be reinstalled in the next few days. Zhang Zhaoji said again. Before these new guys take effect, the first and second generations are still our main combat power. Just as he was talking, Wu Yusen came back and asked, what are the requirements for mecha drivers? Can I get on? Chapter 675. Give John Woo an opportunity to apply. As a former special warfare member who once suppressed Song Ren and almost became the king of soldiers, Wu Yusen, a senior special agent of the Special Affairs Bureau, is naturally good in physical fitness and business ability. Now, the news that the Mecha Corps is to be established has been officially announced, and the whole world knows this important news. Although the new Mecha is still in its infancy, the recruitment and training of Mecha pilots will inevitably take a lot of time, and is being carried out in full swing. With Wu Yusen's physique, if he wants to participate in the selection, he will definitely be the first batch of people to qualify and successfully board the machine. But he can't. Don't think about it. Jin Sichin walked over slowly from the back. If you want to drive a mecha, you must first quit the institute and rejoin the military. Wu Yusen was also happy to see the prey and forgot this basic condition in a moment of happiness. Yes, the selection of drivers for the Mecha Corps is naturally selected from the military. Don't forget that, although 800 is a scientific and technological research institute, it is a subordinate institution of the military. Not only Song Ren, Li Chunhua, and Jiang Yu are military personnel, but also Zi Bisheng, Zhang Zhaoji, and Xia Jing are technical personnel. The medical department is no exception, and Dr. Zhu and Wu Yi are all military personnel. If it weren't for Lin Fan's special situation, she wouldn't have been able to stay in 804 so long as a member of the Special Affairs Office. This is also one of the reasons why Cui Yan has always wanted to transfer Lin Fan to 800. He is obviously affiliated with the 623 Mecha Squadron, but he is affiliated with the Special Affairs Office. As the strongest Mecha combat force, he is not a member of 800. This fact made Cui Yan feel like a thorn in his throat, and he has not completely given up until now. Yes, you have to be a person from the military. Zhang Zhaoji reacted and nodded repeatedly. Wu Yusen was stunned, and then laughed again. Forget it, I'd better stay in the Special Affairs Office. When he left the military and joined the Special Affairs Office, he gave up all his past achievements and started from scratch. Now that he has finally become a senior special agent in the Special Affairs Office, he is almost 40 years old. Is it fun to change camps and start over? After all, he is old and can't be as impulsive and courageous as he was at 20 years old. He has more concerns. Besides, he just donated a large sum of money before the new year. Now he is still a poor guy and is counting on next month's salary to become rich quickly. Although driving a mecha makes people itch, life is not just about dreams and distance. Moreover, leaving the Special Affairs Office is not that easy. He is not like Lin Fan, who can withstand hypnosis. Thinking about forgetting so many colleagues and friends, especially Lin Fan, the desire to drive a mecha has been reduced again and again. Look at Song Ren and others, who are considered the first batch of mecha pilots of 800. Are they good enough? How many times a year can he see Lin Fan? Moreover, over the years, he has long been accustomed to the relatively free working mode of the Special Affairs Office. If he enters the military department and accepts the strict constraints, forget it. It's good for him to stay in the Special Affairs Office and accompany Lin Fan. 9 out of 10 things in life are not satisfactory. Just get used to it. Jin Sichin walked to the side of Wu Yusen, grinning, as if comforting but not really. Well, can he get on the machine and experience it when the time comes? Not actually operating it, but just going in and feeling it? Like I did back then. Lin Fan didn't want to disappoint Wu Yusen and was still struggling. When Fu Guang was first manufactured, she had also experienced it on the machine. She just entered the frame to take a look at the internal interface and vision, but in the end, she couldn't do anything due to her physical condition. If she can do it, maybe Wu Yusen can do it too? Well, Zhang Zhaoji pondered. Theoretically, it's possible, but the details still need to be applied to the superiors. Lin Fan looked at Wu Yusen, and he really smiled. Mecha pilots have to go through system training for their bodies and system operation. It's not that simple. Zhang Zhaoji said seriously. You've seen the training of Captain Song and the others back then. It's not easy. Lin Fan smiled and nodded repeatedly. I know. I just want to let him feel the feeling of being wrapped in a mecha. If there is still strength left, maybe he can move his hands and take a few steps without the assistance of the system. Then he will be satisfied, right? She turned to look at Wu Yusen for approval. Yes, Wu Yusen's eyes sparkled, looking at Lin Fan with a smile. If it works, then I will be satisfied. You guys are thinking pretty well. Zhang Zhaoji laughed unceremoniously. Are you sure he can still move his hands and take a few steps? Okay, I'll apply for it for you later, just as a test of the Mecha's compatibility with ordinary people's bodies. This was a special case for Lin Fan. Lin Fan was so happy that she just raised her hands and wanted to hug Zhang Zhaoji to express her excitement and gratitude, but she saw Wu Yusen hugging him tightly before her. Thank you so much, Wu Yusen said while patting Zhang Zhaoji's back. Papa sounded continuously. Zhang Zhaoji's thin body was hugged by him like a little chicken, and his neck was raised high to show from Wu Yusen's shoulder. You're welcome, no need to be so polite. Let go, don't get hurt. Jin Sichin stepped forward and tapped Wu Yusen's tense upper arm with the back of his hand to rescue Zhang Zhaoji. Zhang Zhaoji breathed a sigh of relief and took 2 steps back. Looking at Wu Yusen and Jin Sichin, as well as Lin Fan who was smiling behind him, he suddenly understood why Lee Chunhua kept talking about them. Compared with the Serious 800, their way of expressing emotion seemed to be more direct and passionate. Such emotions, although sudden, are obviously more likely to infect people's hearts. Dr. Jin, do you want me to apply for a quota for you as well? Zhang Zhaoji asked with a smile. Me? Jin Sichin was stunned, obviously not expecting that there would be something for him, and then he smiled again. Although I want to try, I don't need to. With my small arms and legs, I definitely can't move my hands and walk a few steps after entering. Although Jin Sichin is not as strong as Wu Yusen and others, he has been keeping fit and exercising. According to Wang Fengfeng, his figure is amazing, and it is definitely not as small arms and legs as he said. It is even much stronger than most people at the scene. The key point of his words is actually at the end. Zhang Zhaoji and Lin Fan laughed, while Wu Yusen was very unhappy and hooked his arm around his neck and pulled him down. What's wrong with moving your hands and walking a few steps? You will watch carefully from the side later to see if I can move my hands and walk a few steps. Because of Lin Fan, the intimacy between the two has also increased a lot compared to before, and some harmless jokes can be made. Jin Sichin is a little taller than Wu Yusen and was caught off guard by him and leaned to the side. Wu Yusen's arm was like an iron rod, and he was not polite at all because he was an acquaintance. Or maybe he did it on purpose. Jin Sichin had to bend down and hold his glasses to admit defeat. Okay, move if you want. Get out of my way. Wu Yusen didn't insist and let go. He wasn't sure if he could move, but how could he be laughed at for what Lin Fan said? Of course not. Jin Sichin couldn't do that either. After Jin Sichin stood up, he immediately distanced himself from Wu Yusen, fixed his glasses, and straightened his wrinkled clothes. Humph. These guys who only use their muscles and not their brains. I don't like to play with them. Ubaozi proposed the theme of the end of the world. Come on, everyone, speak up, express your opinions, and see if I can combine your ideas and create a short story together. What do you think of this idea? Do you like it? Just say whether you want to invest or not. Provide roles, character settings, or small settings. Some plots you want to see. You say something, she says something. I will integrate and express them and see if I can make a different story. It's probably 1 sentence per person, time, characters, and place. Different people say different things and collide with an inspiration. This is probably what I mean. I'm not asking for complete creative ideas from everyone. It doesn't count as stealing ideas, right? Of course, if you want to borrow my pen to write down your own ideas, you can say more. Well, it's just for fun. If you want to play, just participate. If you leave a message to participate, it will be assumed that the content of the message is authorized to me to write, and there will be no disputes about creativity, copyright, and royalties in the future. If you think it's not appropriate, it's fine. Let's focus on what's going on. For example, a character name, or an organization name, or a person you hate, how bad this person's personality is, what kind of ending do you want to give, or arrange a high-end personality for yourself. These small ideas are all fine. Random events are also fine. It's just a sudden idea just now. Let all the kids participate in the creation of a book, but you don't have to do it yourself. Kids who want to play, please leave a message. If I make money later, I will give everyone red envelopes. Love you. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.